The first time I cleaned the sect's grandest scripture pavilion, I found not a single cultivation manual inside. Yet the strangest thing was that the librarian had kept watch over this place for 60 full years. Unable to suppress my curiosity, I stepped forward and asked Lord Qingfeng, why is there not a single book to be found in this place? Who told you that a scripture pavilion must necessarily contain books? The scripture pavilion is a magical artifact forged by the Peak Master himself. Those in the sect who come to seek manuals do so based on the fortuitous encounters that manifest at random. Hearing this, my heart plummeted to the depths of despair in an instant. It was over. If there were no books inside, how was I supposed to steal a cultivation manual to sacrifice to the demon lord? It turned out that yesterday I had stumbled upon a black box behind the mountain. I had originally assumed it was a destiny-ordained encounter granted by the heavens, but after opening it, I discovered a bizarre sacrificial altar, with a dark-faced demon god sitting right in the center. Just as I was standing there, dazed and confused, the dark-faced demon god suddenly spoke. Sacrificial process initiated. Please offer one tool. Driven by curiosity, I tossed in a chipped, worn-out axe. The following second, a demonic axe radiating a chilling, cold glow suddenly materialized, hovering fluidly in the void. Is this what it means to sacrifice? What a magnificent axe. As I excitedly picked up the axe, information instantly flooded into my consciousness. Its sharp blade could sever all things, and its formidable demonic energy could shatter the foundation of an immortal. This demon lord is far too generous. I had merely sacrificed a dilapidated axe, yet he rewarded me with such a divine weapon. He is truly 10,000 times more generous than those who claim to be upright immortals. Just as I was caught in a frenzy of joy, the demon lord spoke once more. Please offer any cultivation manual. A cultivation manual? As a mere servant working at the bottom of the social hierarchy, I receive only 10 immortal coins a month, and the cheapest cultivation manual would take 10 arduous months of savings to afford. Where on earth was I supposed to find such a manual? That was why I had planned to sneak into the scripture pavilion as a servant disciple to steal one, thinking that one sacrifice would allow me to soar to new heights immediately. But I had never in a million years expected this place to lack even half a page of text. I stood there, utterly paralyzed, and before I could even recover my senses, the librarian's next words made cold sweat cascade down my back. Do not say I did not warn you. The cultivators who come here to draw cultivation manuals are as volatile as gunpowder. Just 2 days ago, an outer sect disciple who visits every year to obtain techniques, after decades of attempts, had yet to secure even a single scroll he desired. Your poor predecessor was merely watering the courtyard at the time, yet he was cleaved in two on the spot. It was utterly gruesome. My spine was instantly drenched in a cold sweat. Why would these masters not simply grant them the techniques they seek? Are you an utter fool? Do you expect them to hand out manuals for free? If everyone could easily obtain the immortal arts suited to their cultivation progress, then how would these great masters continue to line their pockets? I was suddenly enlightened. To put it bluntly, if the masters simply gave away the desirable manuals, then who would bother spending a fortune to purchase them? These masters truly are cunning. Very well, you must scrub the interior and exterior clean today. Uncle Master Xuanyi will be here tomorrow to draw a technique, right? I've only just arrived. Am I to meet my end so soon? Haha, look at how frightened you are. Uncle Master Xuanyi is the most even-tempered master on Yuzhu Peak. He will not make things difficult for us. Who knows, if he draws a manual he has no use for, he might even toss it to you as a reward. Hearing the word technique, my eyes immediately lit up. Is this not exactly what I have been hoping for? Thank goodness, the heavens have not abandoned me yet. Early the next morning, Qingfeng led me to kneel at the entrance to welcome the Uncle Master. Just like that, we remained kneeling from dawn until the afternoon. I was holding my bladder so tightly I dared not move to relieve myself. Just as I reached my breaking point, Taoist Xuanyi finally arrived on his flying sword saying, "You may all rise." Xuanyi strode directly inside, Qingfeng followed closely behind, and I cautiously trailed at the very back. Qingfeng, I remember when you first entered the sect you were still just a snot-nosed child. Ha ha ha, in the blink of an eye, 60 years have already passed. Tell me, do you think your Uncle Master will be able to obtain a useful technique this time? For someone as blessed as you, Uncle Master, to obtain a useful technique should be as easy as turning over one's hand, should it not? The fact that you have personally visited this outer sect scripture pavilion is already a great honor for the pavilion itself. How could it dare not surrender a top-tier manual? Ha ha ha, you have become quite the smooth talker over the years. This scripture pavilion is a Dharma treasure refined by the Peak Master himself. Do you think I am unaware of the hidden tricks within? To obtain a truly useful manual will be fortune enough. Expecting a top-tier cultivation manual, you might as well wait for the sun to rise in the west. Let us see what happens. The martial uncle will surely be able to obtain a useful cultivation manual. You are certainly becoming more eloquent with your words, aren't you? Haha, as he spoke, his gaze swept toward me, yet he found me not joining in with Qingfeng's sycophantic behavior. This caused martial Uncle Xuanyi, a man who was well-versed in the ways of the world, to have his eyes light up, and in his heart a strange sense of appreciation for talent began to bloom. Is this servant actually a disciple with spiritual roots? The disciple possesses no spiritual roots. Truly, I have no spiritual roots at all. What a pity, it is truly a great pity. Qingfeng sighed in agreement as well. He knew full well that I had clearly encountered a stroke of destiny. Yet he did not expect that I would be someone possessing 0 spiritual roots. falling just a single step short of ascending to the heavens. However, I did not feel a hint of discouragement. At this moment, the only thing in my mind was for Taoist Xuanyi to draw a piece of trash manual and carelessly toss it to me. Any technique bestowed by the Demon King must surely be 100 times more formidable than the manuals of the immortal sect. Wouldn't that make my cultivation journey as easy as flipping one's hand? 5 minutes later, Taoist Xuanyi emerged with an expressionless face, holding a book in his hand. As soon as Qingfeng saw that look, he knew it must be a useless manual. So he hurriedly stepped forward, holding a gourd of wine. Martial uncle, this is the monkey wine you like best. How is it? Is this cultivation manual still of any use? Xuanyi took the gourd, tilted his head back, and drained it, then let out a sigh. It was another piece of trash. What is this secret technique of seed planting anyway? An old man like me, what use could I possibly have for this? Qingfeng scratched his head in embarrassment, not knowing what to say, while in my heart I was screaming frantically. Taoist, do not discard it, please, just toss it to me. Does the title of this book not sound absolutely exhilarating? Who knows, perhaps the Demon King might be immensely pleased with it. Yet I never imagined that Xuanyi would feel as though, in a fit of rage, the cultivation manual in his hand was instantly incinerated to ash, and he flicked his sleeves and departed. It infuriates this old man to no end. My manual was only a single step away from perfection. That cursed old man, alas, my cultivation manual. Ha ha ha, cease your weeping. In a moment, another senior sister will arrive to claim a manual. My word, it seems the heavens are still looking out for me. However, the temperament of this particular senior sister is even more violent. Not to mention murder, if she fails to retrieve the cultivation manual she desires, every living creature within a 10-mile radius will be forced to pay with their lives. Furthermore, who knows from where she managed to acquire an entry quota. If she does not obtain the manual she seeks this time, the mere thought of it makes one tremble in fear. Damn it, could you please stop speaking in such vague, half-finished sentences? Lord Qingfeng, we aren't going to be beaten to death, are we? I am at the very least an official member of the sect, so I should be fine. However, your prospects are much harder to predict. No sooner had he finished speaking than a woman clad in violet robes strode toward them. Upon seeing her, Qingfeng lunged forward with lightning speed, not daring to show even the slightest hesitation. He bowed low, bending his knees and keeping his head lowered. His demeanor was even more servile and cowering than when he greeted Uncle Master Xuanyi. Qingfeng, tell me, do you think I shall be able to obtain the manual I desire today? In truth, my requirements are not overly extravagant. I merely seek any sword cultivation technique suitable for a woman. Senior Sister Yuji possesses profound virtue. Naturally, you shall be able to secure the sword technique you desire. This lad has never even laid eyes upon a top-tier sword cultivation manual in all his time here. I am waiting for Senior Sister Yuji to broaden my horizons. Please, do your best. Yuji is no fool. She naturally perceived the hidden meaning behind those words. However, she was in a relatively good mood today. Having just managed to beg an entry quota from her master, she could not be bothered to haggle with a lowly subordinate. Nevertheless, she could not refrain from speaking. If I fail to obtain a superior cultivation manual this time, then it shall certainly be because the two of you have brought me nothing but misfortune. As soon as these words were uttered, a chill ran down my throat. Once Yuji had stepped inside the scripture pavilion, I immediately leaned toward Qingfeng and whispered, Lord Qingfeng, I shall go trim the bamboo thickets in the courtyard for a moment. You may remain here and wait. In truth, I had my own calculations. I intended to head into the bamboo forest, dig a hole, and hide within it. I reasoned that doing so would surely be far safer. Little brat, do not think I am unaware of your true intentions. Senior Sister Yuji's swordsmanship is legendary. Yet you are merely a common servant, possessing not a shred of cultivation base, that even if you were to hide in the latrines, a single strike of her blade would leave you dead without a burial ground. My complexion turned pale in an instant, and at this very moment the scripture depository began to tremble violently. It was evident that Yuji was flying into a rage within, and even the expression on Qingfeng's face became incredibly panicked. He suddenly pulled a small cloth bag from his robes, shoved it into my hand, and said, That ping on? I suddenly remembered something. I promised to deliver an item to Martial Uncle Xuanyi. Go and deliver it to him for me. But where exactly is Martial Uncle Xuanyi? How am I supposed to find him? Just follow this path toward the gate and head straight to the left of the Juxian platform sign. Wait for him there, and he will naturally come to collect it. Remember well, do not return under any circumstances until you have met with the Martial Uncle. Seeing how hurried and anxious Qingfeng was, my mind felt as though it were lost in a thick fog. I constantly felt that something was not quite right. Yet in the end, I still obeyed his command. I clutched the cloth bag and ran 10 miles to the foot of the Juxian platform. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no sign of Martial Uncle Xuanyi. I was wondering if he had perhaps completely forgotten about this matter, when suddenly, a heaven-shaking explosion erupted from the direction of the scripture depository. Sword light soared into the sky, illuminating the heavens with a brilliant glow. The killing intent was truly terrifying. As soon as I looked up, I saw Yuji in a towering rage, flying past on her sword right over my head. My heart trembled violently. I suddenly understood everything. Ignoring Qingfeng's warning, I ran for my life, racing back toward the scripture depository. I pushed open the great doors to find a scene of utter chaos and destruction, as if bandits had just set the place ablaze. If I had truly buried myself underground earlier, I would have likely perished long ago. This wave of sword energy was truly far too fearsome. I dashed toward the entrance of the scripture pavilion, only to find Qingfeng sprawled upon the ground, his body drenched in blood. I was on the verge of tears. Lord Qingfeng, did you purposely send me away just to keep me safe? Uncle Master Xuan Yi never asked you to deliver anything at all, did he? I merely felt that enough people had already perished here. Besides, I am already at the 3rd level of qi condensation. She could not kill me that easily. Furthermore, I am an official disciple of this sect. She would not dare to act too recklessly against me. However, if it were you in my place, the outcome would be far less certain. Seeing Qingfeng in such a state, my chest tightened with an unbearable ache. We were neither kin nor old acquaintances. He had risked his life to save me solely out of a sense of compassion. Lord Qingfeng, is there any possibility for your cultivation to be restored? Restore it? Not a chance. That damned woman possesses not a shred of humanity. Relying on her own meager talents and her powerful backers, she truly believes she can defy the heavens themselves. She has completely shattered my Dantian. That wretched vile creature, she shall surely suffer the consequences for her actions. Qingfeng cursed with bitter resentment, but the more I listened, the heavier my heart became. For a cultivator, having their path severed is no different than being put to death. Lord Qingfeng, is there truly no other way? Allow me to search for a solution. Unless one can obtain the jade marrow essence from the Taihu cave, it possesses the miraculous power to regenerate meridians, though it only functions for those in the qi condensation stage. Great cultivators of higher realms have no interest in such an item. If it could be retrieved, I would be able to restore my cultivation. Then allow me to retrieve it for you, will you not? However, I knew as soon as I spoke that the matter would not be so simple. Lord Qingfeng, I beg of you, could you please state the full truth at once next time? Very well, the issue is that the jade marrow itself is incredibly sturdy. Unless our peak master takes action personally, there is no second person on UCN Peak who possesses the ability to breach it. Yet this time I felt within my heart that I could truly accomplish this task. Because in my hands I held the peerless heaven demon, perhaps there was a chance I could actually cleave that jade essence stone in two. When night fell and I was certain Qingfeng had fallen into a deep slumber, I slipped out alone and crept stealthily toward the Taishu cave. I dared not venture inside recklessly, so I pressed myself against the cave entrance, listening intently for a long time. Only after confirming that the cavern was deserted did I draw the sky demon axe and step within. If an immortal were inside and spotted me wielding a demonic weapon, would that not be the end of me? Yet I pressed on into the depths for 5 full minutes. The jade essence stones along the path had all been shattered. It was clear that the jade essence liquid within them had already been harvested. There was nothing left. Could it be that someone had already stripped the place clean? It was not until I reached the deepest part of the cave that I beheld a massive, unrefined pillar of jade essence. This pillar remained untouched. No one had come to mine it yet. Oh my, it seemed that scoundrel Qingfeng was in for a stroke of great fortune. I drew the sky demon axe and swung it down with a light touch. It sliced through the pillar as easily as if it were tofu, cleaving it in two with a satisfying ease. At that moment I remained blissfully unaware that what I had just struck was the king of jade essence. I hurriedly retrieved the small medicine vial I had prepared to collect the jade essence liquid. There was far more liquid than I had anticipated. The vial was filled to the brim in the blink of an eye. I stared in dismay as the remaining liquid began to spill onto the ground. With no time to hesitate, I moved forward and drank it directly. The pure translucent fluid flooded into my stomach. Good heavens, a treasure as precious as gold must never be allowed to go to waste. Once I had finished every last drop of the liquid, a shiver of fear finally crept down my spine. Consuming such a massive quantity of this substance, would it lead to any dire consequences? I cast the thought aside. After all, I had already swallowed it all, and it seemed I felt no ill effects. Daring not to linger, I retreated, fleeing back toward my quarters before the first light of dawn could touch the horizon. I no longer dared to keep the sky demon axe hidden in my room. If other immortals were to notice the engravings on the axe and discover this demonic artifact in my possession, my life would be forfeit. I dashed to the backyard and used the sky demon axe to dig a deep hole, excavating more than 10 zhang, yet I still did not feel secure enough. Only when I had dug through to the layer of solid bedrock did I finally feel at ease, burying the sky demon axe deep beneath the earth. The next day, as soon as Qingfeng saw the jade essence liquid I offered him, he was so startled he nearly jumped out of his skin. You little brat, you didn't steal this, did you? I dare not drink this. Fortunately, I had prepared my rebuttal well in advance. Brother, rest assured and drink it. Would I ever truly do anything to harm you? I will not hide the truth from you, brother. Yesterday I ventured to the Taihu cave, where I happened upon someone collecting jade essence fluid. The quantity was immense, and that individual did not exhaust the entire supply. I merely scavenged what was left behind, which is why I only have this meager amount. Qingfeng stared at me intently for a long moment. He searched my eyes and found them clear and sincere, devoid of any signs of deceit, before tilting his head back and draining the contents to the last drop. After consuming it, not only was his sea of qi instantly restored, but it became even more robust than it had been before. Yet he quickly sensed that something was amiss. Why does this jade essence fluid you describe feel so different from what is recorded in the ancient texts? How could this bear such a striking resemblance to the legendary Jade Essence King? However, the Jade Essence King is incredibly durable. Even a master at the core formation stage would find it impossible to easily split it open without a divine weapon in hand. Could it be that I truly managed to cleave the Jade Essence King in two with nothing but a single axe strike? I dared not speak, fearing that the more I said, the more I would reveal my secret. Fortunately, senior brother Qingfeng pondered the matter further and deemed it illogical. Who would have the leisure to leave behind a Jade Essence King, unfinished and waiting for you to scavenge? Only then was I able to heave a sigh of relief. Little did I know that this single act of kindness, born from a moment of compassion, would allow me to seize such a monumental stroke of good fortune. The following day Qingfeng summoned me, saying, I see that your resolve in the path of cultivation is firm. I possess a rudimentary chi refinement technique here, a wood element manual. Take it and study it well. Perhaps, with your Null Spirit Root, you might actually manage to cultivate a thread of spiritual energy. Facing his words, my expression remained completely impassive. Predictably, in the next breath, Qingfeng continued. Do not place your hopes too high. After all, there has never been a single record in the history of this continent of anyone with a Null Spirit Root successfully cultivating. I knew he would inevitably pour a bucket of cold water over my aspirations. But it mattered not. I trusted that the Demon King would certainly not disappoint me. Little did I expect that as I took the manual and turned to leave, he would deliver a second blow. Right, do not blame me for failing to warn you. This is a secret manual I happened upon by chance. It is inevitable that there may be several errors within its pages. I followed it to cultivate for decades, only to crawl my way to the third level of chi refinement. Moreover, there were several occasions where I nearly succumbed to chi deviation. Manage these matters yourself and do not overexert your body during your cultivation. My face went blank, rendered entirely speechless. Is there anything else you wish to say? How strange, are you not afraid of death? Afraid? And why should I fear anything at all? Heading straight back to my living quarters, I quickly latched the door shut behind me and hurriedly dragged the Demon King's altar from beneath my bed, placing the book upon it. Immediately, the indignant cursing of the Demon King echoed from within. Damn it all, what kind of utter trash is this? Do you truly dare to call this a cultivation technique? A technique consisting of 70,000 characters, yet it contains 48,000 errors. How can one possibly cultivate with such garbage? It is, of course, a cultivation technique. Someone has already managed to reach the third layer of chi refining by relying on this very book. Upon hearing this, even the Demon King was left utterly speechless, choked by his own disbelief. To reach the third layer of chi refining using such a piece of waste, that person is truly a genius. In the following moment, the altar flickered with a flash of light. The tattered cultivation manual had been instantly transformed into a secret tome, wreathed in flickering bolts of lightning, while the altar returned to the form of a simple black box once more. Is this truly a secret cultivation technique? Why is it surging with electrical current? I wonder if this will electrocute me to death. I stared wide-eyed at the lightning-wreathed tome on the ground, a bitter realization rising within my heart. This Demon King is undeniably a narcissist who loves to show off. Every treasure he bestows is blinding enough to sear one's eyes, showing no concept of humility or restraint whatsoever. He is truly flashy. Is he so terrified that others might not notice his presence? Furthermore, is this electrical discharge actually safe? I reached out with a trembling hand, cautiously brushing my fingers against the secret tome. The lightning danced upon the back of my hand. To my surprise, I did not feel a single trace of pain. I let out a sigh of relief and began to focus intently on studying the cultivation manual. On the cover, written in ancient characters, were the words, Introduction to the 5 Elements Divine Lightning Refinement. Upon turning to the first page, the flyleaf was completely blank, save for a single name engraved there, Dai Hokthian. Good grief. Who would have thought this demon lord was such a narcissist? Turning to the second page, I found the section on chi guidance. Before I knew it, I had become so captivated by the text that I was completely entranced. Once the 5 chi are cultivated, the body attains a state of either purity or majesty. The innate chi is unique, unlike any other. Its functionality relies on both generation and restriction. Generation acts as a flow, while restriction acts as a sublimation. I fell into deep contemplation. Why is this so different from the understanding of the Null Spiritual Root presented in the books I read previously? The perspectives are entirely contradictory. The orthodox sects claim that the 5 elements of the Null Spiritual Root are in constant, total opposition to one another. To use an analogy, it is like 5 different plants frantically fighting for nutrients on the same patch of soil. The result is that not a single plant can thrive or grow. Ultimately, the energy is completely exhausted, they all wither away, and the land is reduced to a barren, desolate wasteland. However, this manual explains that energy never simply vanishes into thin air. So if metal restricts wood, does the wood's energy just disappear? Where exactly did that wood energy go? The motive force has transformed into thermal energy. Yes, that must be it. If you rub an iron needle vigorously against a piece of wood, the wood might be worn away, but its energy does not vanish. Instead, it converts into a blazing flame. This is the transformation of energy. When water extinguishes fire, the flames may be gone, but the temperature of the water rises. The energy has merely shifted. It moved from the fire into the water. The energy itself never ceased to exist. Therefore, the 5 elements mutual restriction does not destroy energy at all. Rather, it facilitates the sublimation of both generation and restriction. Generation and restriction serve the same function. All things rely on the power of generation to circulate and cycle, and rely on the power of restriction to sublimate and transcend. Generation and restriction are the supreme taiji principles of heaven and earth. In that instant I was so moved that my eyes grew hot and tears welled up. The previous anxiety and restlessness I felt regarding my null spiritual root, the fear that I was unable to cultivate, began to fade. It vanished into nothingness in an instant, leaving not even a single fragment behind. Isn't this 5 elements divine lightning something designed specifically for me by Duo Nai? The Demon King, as expected, did not deceive me. Although I have grasped the principle, I must personally perceive the laws governing the chi of the 5 elements to truly master it, reaching the ultimate void, maintaining unwavering stillness, where all clamoring things return to their origin. Unbeknownst to me, I remained seated in meditation until the sky turned white with dawn, my entire body aching as if it were about to fall apart into pieces. Yet I had no choice but to force myself to stand. There was no other way. I still had a great deal of cleaning work left unfinished. However, the moment I opened the door to step outside, I collided directly with Qing Feng. Qing Feng glanced at me and exclaimed, "Have you successfully guided the chi? I must commend you, kid. You truly possess innate talent. This first hurdle is of vital importance. And since no one has come to the scripture pavilion to obtain cultivation manuals recently, you have no need to attend to any other duties. There is only a bit of cleaning left now. Let me handle it for you. Quickly return to your room and devote yourself entirely to mastering the chi guidance manual. Only by successfully guiding the chi can one be considered to have crossed the threshold into the path of cultivation." Could this fellow actually be kind-hearted so suddenly? Haha, surely there isn't some conspiracy or hidden agenda at play here? In the very moment I stood there dazed, lost in thought, Qing Feng had already picked up the broom and started cleaning. Could the sun have truly risen from the west today? Heh, very well. Since Master Qing Feng is doing this himself, why should I be polite? With that, I immersed myself in cultivation for 2 whole days. Unexpectedly, on the 3rd day of training, a mass of energy within my dantian began to swell and expand significantly. This is disastrous. This must be the effect of the jade essence fluid taking hold. I recall that Qing Feng only needed a tiny vial to completely heal his entire system of meridians and his shattered dantian. Yet, I have consumed several dozen times more than Master Qing Feng did. Damn it, I haven't even successfully guided my chi yet. Am I about to explode and die? Staring at my dantian, which was on the verge of exploding from the pressure, a sudden flash of inspiration ignited in my mind. That is right. Does this substance not possess the ability to repair and restore both meridians and the dantian? If so, I need only find a way to guide this surge of energy, systematically destroying my own meridian system, inch by inch, in a controlled manner, and then immediately utilize that same energy to initiate the healing and restoration process. By gradually and continuously exhausting all of that energy, would the problem not be solved? Just like that, my meridian system and dantian were shattered to the point of destruction 999 times, and subsequently repaired and restored exactly 999. Finally, by the 7th day, the energy was completely and utterly depleted. I lay sprawled out on the ground, gasping for air with my mouth agape, inhaling great ragged gulps of oxygen, swearing that from this day forward, I would never again dare to consume anything so recklessly. Damnation, the agony truly reached the heavens themselves. Yet, after enduring these continuous days of destruction and reconstruction, my meridian system and dantian had become remarkably resilient. They were tougher than anyone could imagine, and their capacity for containment had grown to an extraordinary, immense scale. I focused my senses to perceive the spiritual energies circulating within the air. Within these currents of spiritual energy, the elements of the 5 phases were constantly colliding, crashing into one another, then perpetually manifesting and fading away. According to the explanations provided in the manual, this meant I had successfully achieved the stage of guiding chi. I was so overwhelmed with excitement that I could barely contain myself. I immediately stood up and rushed out to find Qing Feng. However, upon arriving at Qing Feng's room, I found not a single soul there. Where had he gone? Just as I turned to leave, my gaze fell upon a cloth pouch resting on the tea table. Is this not Qing Feng's treasured pouch? Why would he leave such a thing behind? At that very moment, the brilliant rays of the morning sun pierced through the window, illuminating the surface of the table perfectly. On the table, a water stain clearly spelled out the words, "Leave quickly." My heart tightened violently, and a sense of profound unease washed over me. Something terrible had happened. Just then, the sound of rapid, heavy footsteps suddenly echoed from outside the door. I hastily shoved the cloth pouch into the folds of my robe, and maintaining an expression of absolute calm, grabbed a rag. Afterward, I bowed low and continued wiping down the chair, feigning the appearance of one diligently tending to the room's cleanliness. Following the sound of footsteps drawing ever closer, an immortal master in Taoist robes, possessing a remarkably handsome and robust physique, stood towering before me. "You are the servant working for that fellow Qing Feng, are you not?" "Immortal master, that is indeed me." I was just about to follow protocol and kneel to pay my respects when he said, "Spare me the formalities. I, Xuantian, wish to question you on a few matters." "Xuantian? Ancestor Xuantian? Ancestor? Is this not the master of that tyrannical woman Yuji?" Qing Feng claimed that he consumed the essence of the Jade Marrow King to heal the wounds covering his entire body. He asserted that this Jade Marrow King essence was gifted to him by you. Is that correct? In a fleeting moment, I felt as though my heart had completely ceased its beating. It is over. Has the truth been exposed? Could it be that Qing Feng was ruthless enough to betray me? No, that cannot be right. Qing Feng and I only knew that item as Jade Marrow liquid. We had no concept of what a Jade Marrow King essence might be. Therefore this vile old man is merely setting a trap to deceive me. If that is the case, Qingfeng must have been taken by them. Who could have guessed that I would ultimately be the one to cause Qingfeng's downfall? I suppressed the agonizing pain and torment within my heart, forcing myself to assume a countenance of utter bewilderment, and asked naively, "Immortal Master, what are you speaking of? What exactly is this Jade Marrow King?" Upon hearing my response and observing my expression, which showed no trace of artifice or deceit, Xuan Tian let out a sigh of disappointment. At that very moment, the elegant and graceful laughter of a woman echoed from behind me. "Master, I told you so. He is merely a lowly servant. How could he possibly have any connection to a divine artifact? Indeed, in truth, I never truly suspected him. I was merely probing to see what might arise. Boy, pack your belongings and get out of here at once. Qingfeng shall never return to this place again. From this moment forth, this residence shall be under my jurisdiction." I donned an expression of absolute ignorance, appearing as a fool who could not even comprehend human speech. Oh, yes, Immortal Master, I shall depart immediately." I ducked my head and trudged toward the exit, constantly bowing and scraping as I performed repeated salutes toward Xuantian and Yuji. "Get lost quickly, do not remain here to clutter my sight." I dared not lift my head to meet his gaze, fearing he might perceive the towering murderous intent roiling deep within my eyes. Upon stepping out into the courtyard, I saw that many Taoists in identical blue robes had already arrived. They were ransacking the area, turning everything upside down in search of something. My heart sank, heavy with an ominous weight. It was clear as day, they were scouring the grounds to track down my heavenly demon axe. I had to depart from this place immediately. Damn it all, one day, I shall surely return to make you pay for this blood debt. I sprinted for my life, limbs burning and drenched in sweat, until I reached the base of the Immortal Ascension platform. The path leading down the mountain was finally within reach. Suddenly, a thunderous, authoritative shout erupted from behind me. "Halt! Where do you think you are going?" I was so startled my spirit nearly fled my body in terror. Only after turning around and realizing it was Taoist Chuanyi did I manage a sigh of relief. He tossed an identification tablet directly at me and spoke. "A great tribulation is descending. These cultivators have all been driven to madness. You are but a youth. Yuju Peak is no longer a suitable place for you to remain. Go down to the great exchange town. If the opportunity arises, seek your fortune among the other peaks." Was this old man trying to intimidate me? His way of speaking was truly bizarre. Regardless, there was no time to dwell on it. I had to prioritize my survival above all else. However, as I reached the foot of the mountain, I was intercepted by several menial disciples at the 4th level of Qi refining who blocked my path. "Stop. Immortal Master Xuantian has issued an order. Absolutely no one is permitted to descend the mountain for the time being." That wretched old man was surely acting out of frustration for not finding the heavenly demon axe. Fortunately, I had hidden it with the utmost discretion. "And what of the order from this Immortal Master? Do you still intend to stand in my way? Junior brother, please understand. We are simply performing our official duties. You may descend the mountain now." Once off the mountain, I dared not pause to rest for even a single second. It was only after fleeing desperately toward Dajiao Town that I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. After all, this place falls under the direct jurisdiction of the sect master of the Zhenwu sword sect. The forces of Xuan Tianyu and her followers at Yuju Peak would have no way to extend their reach this far, no matter how much they desired it. Now, I finally have the leisure to examine the contents of the cloth bag that Qingfeng left behind for me. I rummaged through the bag for a while. Inside, there was nothing more than a few dozen immortal coins, a book on alchemy titled Bensao Jinggong Mu, and a key with a very peculiar shape. Attached to the key was a small metal tag. Inscribed on the tag were the words, 115 Shuan Street, Dajiao Town. Could this truly be the key to a residence here in Dajiao Town? My heart was filled with confusion and doubt, so I decided to stow it away carefully for the time being. Afterward, I began walking toward the Grand Hall, located at the entrance of the town. Because, regardless of the reason for one's arrival, once you set foot in Dajiao Town, you are required to report to the Grand Hall to complete the registration procedures. Only by obtaining an identity token can one move and operate freely within the confines of Dajiao Town. Stepping up to the registration window, the female cultivator on duty quickly processed my paperwork. "I wish you the best of luck," I said. "Thank you, miss." "Right. Could you please help me identify where this location is?" I spoke as I pointed my finger toward the address engraved on the metal tag attached to the key. "Oh, this is a real estate deed. To think you actually possess property in Dajiao Town? Young master, you are truly wealthy. The price of property in Dajiao Town is by no means cheap. Yet, you don't even know where your own house is located. This was gifted to me by a friend from the mountains. As this is my first time setting foot in Dajiao Town, it is only natural that I am unaware of its precise location." Wow, your friend is certainly generous. As expected, those who descend from the mountains are far more affluent than the rest of us. Because of this, her attitude suddenly became significantly more enthusiastic and hospitable. She took the initiative to grab a map and meticulously pointed out the location of the house for me, guiding me through the path I needed to take, all while occasionally yet I remained entirely unmoved by these sights. For my heart and mind were not truly present here at all. Following the directions provided by that female cultivator, I quickly located Qingfeng's residence. It was a small courtyard, nestled on the western edge of the town, where a single step outside the gate led straight to the bustling town center. It was a place of lively chatter and laughter, with a clear, crystalline stream flowing right past the front door. Heavens, a place like this is truly suited for a peaceful retirement. It is only a pity that the original Qingfeng would never live to see such a beautiful day. I pushed open the door and stepped inside, revealing a perfectly standard Shihewan courtyard, where the garden was filled with vibrant, flourishing flowers and plants. However, I had no leisure to stand there and admire the scenery. Instead, I rushed directly into the bedchamber, turning the bolt to lock the door firmly behind me. Only then, at that very moment, did the anguish and suppressed suffering that had long dwelled within the depths of my heart become impossible to restrain any longer. I Ching wept bitterly. Xuanqian, is it? Yuji, is it? Wait until the day my cultivation level far surpasses your own. I will surely tear your bodies into 1,000 fragments to seek justice and avenge Qingfeng. After purging the agony and resentment from my heart, I hurriedly pulled out the black box to see if the Demon King required any further sacrificial offerings. To my utter shock, the Demon King immediately initiated the sacrificial process. Sacrifice initiated. This sacrifice requires a support skill manual. Alchemy, weapon forging, musical cultivation, herb planting, or spiritual scriptures, all are acceptable. Damn it all, is this Demon King secretly monitoring my every move? Why is it that the moment I obtain an alchemy manual, he immediately demands it for a sacrifice? Forget it, regardless of the reason, as long as it helps me grow stronger rapidly, it is for the best. I withdrew the Jingangmu manuscript from my robe and placed it neatly upon the altar. Before long, a sudden bolt of lightning flashed down. The Jingangmu manuscript had vanished without a trace, replaced in its stead by a book titled Profound Mysteries of the Five Elements Alchemy. I could not wait a moment longer, and hastily flipped the book open. A single glance at the contents was enough to strike me with profound shock and horror. Within this manual, there was not a single line describing the specific ingredients or contents of these herbs. If there are no herbal formulas, how on earth am I supposed to refine elixirs? However, once I focused my spirit to study the explanatory notes within, I felt increasingly astonished with every line I read. This 5 elements alchemy does not require fixed herbal prescriptions at all. Instead, it directly pursues the distinct elemental power hidden within the herbs, utilizing the fundamental nature of the 5 elements spiritual energy to conduct the refinement process. This is truly the ultimate, supreme essence of the alchemical Tao. For instance, to refine a wood spirit elixir, one only needs to prepare 2 parts of wood spiritual energy and 1 part of fire spiritual energy. As long as the ratio of the spiritual energy is perfectly balanced, any type of herb can be used to succeed. While conventional alchemy methods strictly demand adherence to fixed prescriptions to successfully condense an elixir, this method bypasses such constraints. I continued to turn the pages, reading further down, and to my surprise, I discovered that the book included a minor cultivation technique called spiritual energy identification, which is used to accurately perceive and assess the absolute nature of the spiritual energy contained within various herbs. Without a second thought, I immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. At this moment, I could no longer suppress my impatience. I yearned to take this incredibly novel alchemy method and apply it to practical use immediately. Furthermore, without the assistance of elixirs, my personal cultivation speed was as agonizingly slow as a snail crawling. I absolutely refused to let myself become another Qingfeng. Early the next morning, I strode toward the bustling market in the Zhenwu Renji Dialing Mountain Range. Everywhere I looked, there were all kinds of immortal herbs, a vast and dazzling array beyond count. Premium tailgrass here, come and take a look. Just unearthed from the soil. High-quality snow lotus with the best medicinal effects, who wants to buy? This was gathered from the peak of a mountain, 10,000 meters high. There are only 3 blossoms left. Once they're sold, that's it. I then activated the technique I had just successfully learned. My eyes instantly shifted to a pale green hue, and the properties of all the medicinal materials appeared clearly and transparently before my eyes. However, the vast majority of these medicinal materials possessed extremely chaotic and impure attributes. Given my current level of cultivation, I had no way to extract the 5 elements' power hidden within them. Although the 5 elements alchemy manual does contain a technique for purifying spiritual energy, the minimum requirement is to possess foundation establishment cultivation to perform it. Yet, at this moment, I have only just successfully achieved chi condensation. There is still a massive gap between me and that level. Alas, in the current situation, I can only seek out a few materials with relatively pure 5 elements spiritual energy, which will suffice as a temporary measure for now. This snow lotus seems to be of quite high quality. The water attribute energy hidden within it reaches 99% purity. How much are you selling this snow lotus for? I will give you a fair price. 500 immortal coins per flower. Are you interested in purchasing it? What did you say? Is it truly that exorbitant? I cannot afford this. I shall continue to wander through the marketplace once more, only to realize that with the meager immortal coins I possess, I cannot even afford a single strand of hair before my funds are completely depleted. Just as I was about to depart from the marketplace square with a heavy heart, my gaze suddenly caught something in the depths of a dark corner. A child, dressed in tattered rags, was sitting there selling flowers of peculiar shapes. Each flower possessed 5 petals, and the color of every petal was entirely distinct. Within each petal, a different type of 5 elements energy was contained. How intriguing. What is the name of this flower, little one? This is called the five-colored flower. Everyone says the power contained within these flowers is far too chaotic to be absorbed. Thus, not a single soul bothers to buy them. Little one, is that any way to conduct business? You should claim that while this flower may not be perfectly pure, it is exceptionally rare and worth every penny, should you not? But everyone feels that this flower is completely useless. They only use these things as cooking ingredients to fill their bellies. A lump formed in my throat. It turns out the true fool in the situation was none other than myself. I picked up a flower and fell into deep contemplation. If they were to consume the entire flower at once, it would certainly yield no positive effect. However, if one were to pluck each petal individually and isolate them according to their specific 5 elements attributes, it seems highly feasible indeed. How are you selling these? 10 immortal coins for 1 flower. I will take the entire stock you have here. My heart immediately. He then reached into his pocket and produced a single immortal coin. I shall purchase everything here. An entire immortal coin? I do not have enough change for such an amount, sir. Would you be so kind as to wait here for a brief moment? I shall run to the other stalls to exchange it for smaller currency to return to you. That will not be necessary. You may keep the entire sum. Tomorrow I ask that you strive to gather a greater quantity of 5-colored flowers, enough to match the value of the immortal coin, and I will remain right here to await your return. Would that be acceptable to you? The child gripped the immortal coin tightly in his small hand, his eyes shining with pure delight. Is that truly the truth, sir? Then I shall see you again tomorrow. Until tomorrow then. I whistled a merry tune, while joyfully gathering the 9 stalks of 5-colored flowers from the ground. I turned and strode toward the alchemy room, located just a wall away. 1 immortal coin per hour. All things considered, the price is quite reasonable, and they even thoughtfully provided a beautiful female cultivator to handle the furnace flames. With a gentle wave of her hand, a surge of flame ignited, immediately lighting the alchemy furnace. Honored guest, have you ever practiced alchemy before? Never. This is my very first attempt. In that case, please wait here for a moment. I shall return shortly. Not long after, she returned to the room. Was it truly necessary to outfit yourself in such a protective getup? I shall not hide it from you. Were it not for the generous salary provided by the proprietor, not a single soul would be willing to take on this role of furnace attendant. It is simply far too dangerous, especially when dealing with newcomers who are still wet behind the ears, such as yourself. For a first attempt at alchemy, the risk of a furnace explosion is effectively 100%. I have yet to witness anyone succeed on their maiden attempt. Then, let me see for myself. Although I answered with a defiant tone, deep down I was far from convinced. The profound essence of the 5 elements alchemy technique bestowed upon me by the Demon King was surely foolproof. Success was guaranteed on the very first attempt. Xiao Hong could not be bothered to waste any more words on me. She had already witnessed far too many arrogant individuals of this sort. Every single one of them indulged in the delusion that they were unparalleled geniuses. Trying to explain anything further to them would be a futile effort. Once he has been blown to the brink of death by an explosion, he will naturally learn to be obedient again. I retrieved 9 multicolored flowers from the basket and began to steady my mind for the alchemy process. It shouldn't cause the cauldron to explode, should it? The word Xiao Hong had just spoken truly sent a chill down my spine. Xiao Hong stood frozen in shock, asking in astonishment, "Do you actually intend to use these things to perform alchemy? Can these tattered, worthless items really be used to refine elixirs?" In truth, I could not say with absolute certainty, but I must at least give it a try. These herbs are precious. I would hate to see them go to waste. That is fair enough, as you are only here to familiarize yourself with the alchemy process. I plucked 4 green petals, which represented the wood spiritual chi. I chose 2 red petals for the fire spiritual chi. According to the profound essence of the 5 elements alchemy, this should refine into a wood spirit pill. Following that, I added a large bowl of water into the alchemy cauldron. Why are you adding water? Should you not be using a spiritual liquid infused with the power of the 5 elements? Am I not merely performing a rehearsal? The reality is that I cannot afford those, so I have no choice but to use water as a temporary substitute. Once the water began to boil, I first added the 4 green petals. Before long, the contents of the cauldron transformed into a green porridge-like substance. At this moment, I instructed Xiao Hong to reduce the heat to a low simmer. An hour later, the green porridge had thickened considerably. It was likely ready. I hurriedly added the 2 red petals. The red petals possess the power of fire spiritual chi, which serves primarily to burn away all impurities, leaving only the wood spiritual chi behind. At that very instant, the thick green liquid suddenly began to boil violently, and a strange aroma wafted into the air. This is the scent of wood spiritual chi. It is slightly sour. Ha ha ha, success is within reach. Ha ha ha, but why is the flame suddenly intensified? Did I not set it to a low simmer all this time? Ah, this is not good. Wood produces fire. I realized something was amiss, and immediately rolled across the floor like a tumbling donkey to hide in the corner. The cauldron erupted with a thunderous bang, and a violent shockwave surged outward from within. Damn it, my reflexes were quick enough to save me, but Xiao Hong was not as fortunate. She was scorched pitch black by the explosion. It seems her decision to wear protective gear was indeed wise. Fortunately, I only dared to use enough herbs for a single pill. Had I filled the entire cauldron, there is no telling what devastation would have followed. The mere thought of it is terrifying, yet I have no other choice. Without the assistance of medicinal elixirs, there is simply no way to rapidly raise my cultivation level, let alone seek vengeance for the Qingfang Hall. Refusing to accept defeat, I decided to try again, this time abandoning the wood spirit pill to attempt the metal spirit pill instead. I gathered 4 white petals to represent metal spiritual energy and 2 azure petals for water spiritual energy. In order to discern every subtle change throughout the alchemical process, I leaned in extremely close this time. Little did I know that in the next moment, the furnace would explode once more. The shockwave sent me flying into the air, slamming me hard against the wall. Damn it, I tried again for a 3rd time, and it exploded. Then I tried a 4th and it exploded again. After a series of consecutive failures, my eyes were sunken and bruised, and my entire body was as blackened as charcoal. I was losing my mind, spiraling into a state of obsessive alchemy. Xiao Hong said not a word. She had seen many fools like me before. Truly, some will not shed tears until they see their own coffin. This was the 9th and final attempt, for my herbs were nearly exhausted, leaving only enough for one last fire spirit pill. I sat silently in the alchemy room, meticulously reviewing every step and every error I had made to conduct a thorough self-reflection. My basic assessment is that the issue lies in the control of the heat. Because the level of impurities in each petal differs, and I currently lack the ability to refine them, I must control the fire with absolute precision, purging the impurities bit by bit. Ignite the fire and no, don't let it explode. Let us begin the ignition. Xiao Hong nodded, feeling completely numb. This time, I was exceptionally cautious, drawing upon all the painful lessons learned previously. Every movement I made was steady and controlled, while I constantly reminded Xiao Hong to maintain the fire's intensity. An hour later, a faint sweet aroma filled the air. That is it, the fire spirit pill should have a sweet scent, lower the temperature, and maintain a steady slow simmer. Another hour passed, and to my astonishment, this was my first time breaking the rules. I was so nervous that sweat drenched my entire back. It was almost time, and Xiao Hong prepared to finish the pill refining. Upon receiving the command, Xiao Hong instantly increased the flames to their peak intensity. As for me, I exerted all the strength I could muster to lift the lid of the furnace. According to proper alchemy, the lid should be lifted using spiritual techniques, allowing the medicinal pills to emerge on their own. However, since I lacked knowledge of such techniques, I had no choice but to rely on brute force. I had not expected the lid to be so incredibly heavy. It wasn't until I strained myself to the point of turning red that I finally managed to heave it open. With a loud bang, a sticky glob of matter shot out from the furnace and plastered itself firmly onto the ceiling. I leaped into the air and caught the viscous mass from the ceiling, clutching it securely in my palm. Is this truly a fire spirit pill? Why does it look like such a sticky mess? After a moment of thought, I resolutely used my hands to mold the sticky glob into a circular shape, which made it appear much more presentable. It actually resembles a medicinal pill now. A pure elemental fire energy radiated from the center of my palm. Aha, it seems I have actually succeeded, but why does it still feel slightly sticky? How embarrassing this is. Yet Xiao Hong's eyes widened in disbelief. She could hardly accept what she was seeing. As a fire attribute cultivator, she was exceptionally sensitive to the aura of a fire spirit pill. Even though this pill was poorly crafted in appearance, it was undeniably a genuine fire spirit pill. This boy is refining for the first time, yet he has actually succeeded? Could he truly be a cultivation prodigy? Does this count as a success? I suppose not. The quality is far too inferior. Congratulations, however, you are the only novice to succeed on their very first attempt. Is that true? Doesn't that make me an alchemy genius? I suppose you could call it that. Reflecting on my clumsy movements during the process, Xiao Hong found this answer somewhat against her conscience. Upon returning home, although I was completely exhausted to the point of collapse, I did not feel the slightest hint of drowsiness. Instead, I immediately sat cross-legged and consumed the low-quality fire spirit pill in one gulp. I could wait no longer to discover the effects of this fire spirit pill. I used my consciousness to carefully guide this surge of power into my sea of qi toward my fire attribute spiritual root. In the blink of an eye, my entire body was transformed into a world of brilliant, blazing red. Simultaneously, a cluster of invisible flames danced around my body. If any passing cultivator were to catch a glimpse, they would surely mistake me for a master of fire attribute cultivation. I was overjoyed. I had finally become a cultivator with spirit essence. However, for now, I had only succeeded in guiding the spirit energy. This energy could only be used to strengthen my physique and expedite recovery. It had not yet reached the level where I could project it outward. To manifest energy externally, one must at least reach the 3rd stage of qi refining. It seems I must redouble my efforts. The next day, I found the child to retrieve the 5 colored flowers, then headed straight for the alchemy room. I had assumed that I had grasped the underlying pattern, yet after toiling all day, I had managed to produce only a single gold spirit pill. Alas, was the success of the previous day merely a stroke of luck? As autumn arrived, golden leaves blanketed the valley, creating an exceptionally beautiful sight. Each day, my routine consisted of purchasing flowers from the child to refine pills and cultivate. Gradually, my alchemy skills began to improve. From an initial 10 attempts ending in 9 furnace explosions, it improved to 8. Eventually, I reached my limit, achieving success only 3 or 4 times out of 10. This was because I realized the issue was no longer limited to my alchemy technique. My own cultivation level was lagging behind. I was fundamentally unable to control the timing with the necessary precision. Furthermore, the impurities within the herbs were varied and unpredictable. A single moment of negligence would result in an immediate furnace explosion. Another month passed, and relying on the assistance of medicinal pills, I finally cultivated 5 points of light, each radiating with brilliant intensity. With this abundant energy, I began to cultivate the martial arts demonic technique. The 5 elements formation within my chi slowly began to activate. After cycles of mutual restriction, the energy was utterly consumed. What is the true purpose of this formation? Suddenly, thunder rumbled above the altar, and a 5-colored bolt of lightning flickered in and out of the mist. I was struck by a sudden realization. It is no wonder this manual is called the 5 Elements Divine Thunder. It turns out the technique utilizes the power of mutual restriction within the 5 elements to crush spirit energy into minute, refined sources of power. Moreover, this energy does not simply vanish, it sublimates into divine thunder. The formation triggered a bolt of divine thunder, and I broke through to the first stage of chi refining. I was overcome with excitement. I had finally truly stepped across the threshold of cultivation. I had become a legitimate cultivator. Suppressing the wild joy in my heart, and unable to wait a moment longer, I flipped to the second chapter of the 5 Thunder Demonic Art. The cultivation of the second chapter continues to focus on converging energy within the 5 element spirit roots. Once the energy has gathered sufficiently, one can begin to use divine sense to exert rudimentary control over the divine lightning. Although this realm does not yet permit the external manifestation of spiritual energy, one can utilize this lightning to protect the body and temper the physical form, which will also lead to a significant increase in both strength and bodily resilience. I could not wait another moment and immediately sat cross-legged to attempt a breakthrough to the second level of chi refining. Could it be? This second level requires an immense amount of energy. If one were cultivating this technique during the ancient era, such a feat would be as easy as turning over one's hand. It is said that in that age, spiritual energy was as dense as liquid, making cultivation easier than drinking water. Golden core cultivators were as common as stray dogs, nascent soul masters ran errands, and grip perfection experts were everywhere. But now we live in the age of Dharma decline. Spiritual energy grows thinner by the day, and even golden core cultivators are few and far between. To cultivate this technique now, there is only one path remaining: the consumption of massive quantities of medicinal pills. But just how many chi-gathering pills would such a task require? I am on the verge of bankruptcy, but since the arrow has already been loosed, I have no choice but to grit my teeth and continue the cultivation. Fortunately, this demonic art is vastly superior to ordinary immortal techniques. Once mastered, it is truly a devastating force. Thankfully, I am still able to use the cheapest 5-colored flowers to refine chi-gathering pills, barely enough to sustain my cultivation. Time slipped by until winter arrived. The valley was blanketed in a layer of silver, with snowflakes drifting down from the heavens. I finally succeeded in breaking through to the second level of chi refining. Now I am capable of using my willpower to manipulate the divine lightning, freely guiding it through the meridians across my entire body. While my physical body has become remarkably hardened. With my current constitution, even if Yuji were to strike at me with a sword, it would not be enough to kill me. At most, I would simply have to let her strike a few more times. The only issue is that my wealth is depleting quite rapidly. Yet I have no intention of going out to seek employment, because I wish to seize every moment to continue my breakthrough to the 3rd level. Only by breaking through to this realm will I possess the basic capacity for self-defense and the ability to learn mystical arts. It will even provide a significant improvement in my alchemy. Time flowed onward, and I have now been in Dajao Town for a full year. Winter passed, spring arrived, and as summer returned, I finally reached the threshold of the 3rd level of chi refining. At last I have broken, yet the divine lightning had been suppressed for far too long. Upon breaking free from the body for the first time, it surged uncontrollably, shooting straight toward the roof. In an instant, the roof was blasted open, leaving a gaping hole as the divine lightning soared out into the open air. Oh, this is disastrous. I must ensure no one discovers that this divine lightning stems from a demonic technique. If discovered, it would surely invite a catastrophe upon myself. As I trembled in sheer panic, the heavens and earth suddenly shook. The sky bled into a dismal shade of green, and ominous, gale-force winds began to howl. Could it be? Does my divine lightning possess such destructive power? At that moment, piercing screams erupted from outside the residence. And, sensing that something was gravely wrong, I hastily threw open the door and stepped into the courtyard. I witnessed a horrifying, ghastly green wind sweeping across the horizon, howling as it tore through the village, ripping the roofs off countless homes. People were snatched up by the gale, their screams echoing as they were cast into the sky. In a mere heartbeat, they were withered and eroded, leaving behind nothing but bleached bones, which eventually crumbled into fine dust, scattering into the void. Is this the end of the world? Fortunately, this monstrous wind came as quickly as it departed, vanishing without a trace, after barely the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. Little did I know, this sudden cataclysm had unknowingly saved my life. The immortals of the 13 peaks had all been stirred into action. The sky was filled with cultivators riding their swords, crisscrossing the firmament with brilliant flashes of sword light. Among them was an immortal, clumsy and unsteady, flying at a low altitude. It was clear he had only just mastered the art of sword flight. Yet the very next moment he was snatched from the air and swallowed whole by a grotesque flying serpent lurking beneath the dense forest canopy. The immortal's wretched scream tore through the valley. The others turned their gaze, enraged that a lowly beast would dare harm a cultivator. A streak of swordlight flashed, and the flying serpent was severed in two midair. Everyone was struck with awe by such a display of immortal art. But I alone caught sight of a small object falling from the heavens, landing not far from where I stood. My heart stirred. This was surely a treasure left by the immortal, and I immediately scrambled toward the spot as fast as my legs could carry me. But as I set my eyes upon the fallen object, a voice from behind forced me to halt. "You fool with no regard for your own life, leave this place at once. Do you not see the demonic claw emerging ahead?" I looked toward the distance, and indeed, a pool of ghastly green water had manifested within the forest. The area was not vast, spanning only a few square zhang with sickening green bubbles rising to the surface. The demonic remains of that flying serpent also landed near the pool. Is that truly the demonic claw? Immortal Master, did that flying serpent emerge from the demonic abyss? This is truly terrifying. Enough nonsense. This is no place for the likes of you to remain. Depart at once. The surrounding area has already been sealed. Understood, this lowly one will leave immediately. I have no intention of risking my life. Committing the location to memory, I turned to depart. Suddenly, with a thunderous roar, the demonic claw let out a shriek. A green liquid erupted into the air. This was a gift from the heavens. By the time the immortal looked back, I was already fleeing at full speed toward Dajao Town. To think a coward like this dared to join in the excitement, only to run away like a stray dog. Truly, a man who does not know the value of life. Yet, the moment I arrived home, I saw the elderly neighbor standing at his doorway, sighing deeply. The wind disaster approaches. The great calamity is upon us. The great calamity is upon us. My heart stirred slightly. Listening to the old man, it seemed he knew a great deal about this green wind. I stepped forward and bowed. "Elder, if I may disturb you for a moment, what do you mean by the wind disaster that is approaching?" "Young man, you do not understand. Upon this continent, every 129,600 years a great calamity descends. Those who survive may enter the next era. Those who cannot escape will vanish into nothingness from this point forward. Even the immortals are no exception. Could it be that this great calamity is already upon us? It is exactly as it seems. Calculating the time, the year of the great calamity is but 3,000 years away. Already, the winds from the demonic abyss have begun to blow sporadically. Is this truly the omen for 3,000 years from now? Oh, it is still early, then it is of no concern. Only upon reaching the peak of the golden core stage can one possess a lifespan of 3,000 years. I do not even know if I can successfully cultivate to the foundation establishment stage, let alone worry about a great calamity 3 millennia away. It seems to have nothing to do with me." "That is correct, Elder. Is the great calamity you spoke of the demonic abyss itself?" "Naturally, the flying serpent from before is a vicious beast of the demonic abyss. When the demonic abyss re-emerges in 3,000 years, not even the immortals will find peace. This world is about to be cleansed and restarted, though that has nothing to do with an old man like me. Besides, I will not live to see that day arrive." Ha ha. At that very moment, a few construction workers approached. "Little Huo, these are the men I hired. I noticed your house was damaged, so I thought I would have them repair it for you while I am at it." "Then I thank you deeply. I will go inside and wait." A short while later, the master craftsman arrived. "My, this is quite something. One look at this hole and it is clear it was caused by a beast from the demon realm. It is not only perfectly round, but there are also traces of residual demonic energy lingering around the edges. Little Huo, you are truly fortunate. A creature from the demon realm must have passed through here. Fortunately, it only destroyed your roof and did not bring you any harm. Ha ha ha, this will be a bit difficult to repair. If you pay me 2 immortal coins, I will fix it for you right now." "Very well, please repair it for me. Here are the immortal coins." Once the master craftsman had finished his work and departed, I hurried over to bolt the courtyard door shut. I leaned heavily against the door, clutching my chest as my heart pounded uncontrollably. Fortunately, the dark wind passed by today, allowing me to bluff my way through this ordeal. If the immortals were to discover that I possessed demonic arts, being skinned and quartered would be the lightest of punishments. After calming myself for a long time, I finally stepped into the room and pulled the storage pouch I had found from my robes, only to discover that this pouch was of the lowest possible quality. And to make matters worse, it had been locked. Did I risk my life just to scavenge this piece of trash? That impoverished immortal was truly despicable and shameless. No, wait, perhaps I can offer it to Lord Demon King. Does Lord Demon King not collect all manner of scraps? As expected, as soon as I opened the black box, it transformed into an altar in an instant, and a familiar voice echoed, "Please offer a Dharma treasure. The Demon King truly still favors me." Once the offering was complete, the storage pouch vanished, and a small black cube appeared on the table. At the same time, information regarding this black cube is a growth-type storage artifact. After absorbing energy, it can expand. The internal space gradually grows larger, and the variety of items it can hold increases accordingly. This is a rare treasure, but how exactly does it grow? As it is a magical artifact, it must surely be opened using spiritual power. Coincidentally, my 3rd level of chi refining allows me to project spiritual energy externally, so I meticulously channeled the divine lightning essence from my dantian, slowly releasing it from my fingertips. As soon as the spiritual energy touched the black cube, a thunderous explosion erupted. Ah, where is my black cube gone? This is disastrous. Did it shatter into pieces? Damn it, is my spiritual power really that volatile? At this moment, a sudden disturbance occurred within my dantian, and I hurriedly sat in a cross-legged position. Focusing my mind into a meditative state, my soul entered the dantian. At a single glance, I saw the black cube that had just vanished, now hidden within the mist of divine lightning, frantically absorbing the divine lightning energy. Stop. I've only been cultivating for a few days. Do you have any idea how difficult it was to accumulate this much divine lightning essence? I immediately severed the supply of divine lightning energy to it. Unexpectedly, the black cube flew into a rage, stubbornly hiding within the mist and refusing to emerge. This magical artifact certainly possesses quite a temperament. Very well, if it wishes to remain there, I shall let it stay. It will at least prevent others from discovering it. That's right, I can inspect what the interior of the black cube looks like. As the name suggests, the interior is pitch black, yet it already holds quite a few items. Oh, why is there a book here? Could it be that this black cube was modified by the Demon Lord using that storage vessel, leaving behind the belongings of the previous cultivator? The Demon Lord is truly formidable. I doubt even the sect master of the Zhenwu sword sect could achieve such a feat. It appears that following the Demon Lord is indeed a promising path. If I am still alive 3,000 years from now, when the winds of calamity blow and the Demon Lord descends, ha ha ha, will I also be able to strut alongside my master and show off my power? Ha ha ha, that would be truly magnificent. I withdrew from the black cube to examine this book. The book records an offensive magic technique called Battle Robe Arts, though it does not seem entirely suited for humans. It appears to be a peculiar spell passed down from the ancient demon clan. Sacrifice initiated. Please proceed with the sacrifice of this cultivation manual. What a coincidence. Without a moment's hesitation, I sacrificed the battle mage robe. A moment later, a new manual appeared upon the altar. The 5 Thunders technique. I flipped through the pages to examine it closely. Within it recorded 5 types of arts. The fire attribute Demon Realm Fire Dragon. The earth attribute Earth God Shield. The wood attribute Restoration of All Things. The metal attribute Divine Sword Art. And the water attribute. This was a cultivation technique designed to transmute divine lightning into the power of the 5 elements. Could it be that the great demon king knew the power of divine lightning was ill-suited for this world, and thus specially prepared this technique for me to convert divine lightning into the 5 elements? The great demon king is truly thoughtful. Knowing how to help me conceal my strength, next time I sacrifice, I shall surely offer something of higher quality. Constantly feeding on trash, even the omnipotent demon king would likely find that unbearable, would he not? I gazed at the 5 techniques before me. Pondering for a moment, it would be best to choose an offensive technique. For regardless of how formidable one's defense may be, without offense, one is merely waiting to be slaughtered. There were 2 offensive spells, and I resolutely chose the Divine Sword Art. For the Demon Realm Fire Dragon requires summoning an evil dragon from the Demon Realm. In this world of cultivation, which is teeming with immortals, it would be identified at a single glance. The Divine Sword Art transmutes divine lightning into metal attribute spiritual energy, manifesting a phantom flying sword to strike down the opponent. Upon reaching the lesser completion stage, one can unleash 7 divine swords at once to form a sword net against the enemy. Should one reach great completion, one can unleash 108 divine swords in a single breath, blanketing the sky in a lethal assault. If one reaches the ultimate stage of perfection, the number of divine swords is limitless, depending only upon the capacity of one's own spiritual energy. A rain of endless blades can annihilate all foes, and may even slay a golden core cultivator in an instant. Following the manual, I attempted to transmute the divine lightning into metal attribute spiritual energy, guiding the energy to condense into a physical form, which caused my palm to tremble. A small silver-white sword appeared in the palm of my hand. It was merely a bit small, only 3 inches in length, even shorter than a dagger. Yet, despite this, I could not suppress the wild joy surging in my heart, for this was the first time I had ever successfully cast a spell. Cultivating immortality is truly magnificent. Oh, that is not right. Practicing the demonic path is truly magnificent. Having learned my lesson from the previous incident, where the divine lightning discharged beyond my control, I sprinted for 3 full days until I reached a secluded valley deep within the forest before coming to a halt. I manifested the divine sword within my palm, aimed it at a gargantuan tree 500 meters ahead, and used my divine sense to command the blade to strike. As the divine sword sliced through the massive trunk, the tree collapsed with a thunderous roar in my direction. I recoiled in terror, scrambling to avoid the impact. A tree of such magnitude could truly crush me to death. The timber struck the earth, causing the ground to tremble violently, sending countless small creatures fleeing in a panic. Ah, my goodness, this power is overwhelming. I wonder what would happen if it struck solid granite. It is truly potent. I must attempt this once more. I continued to manipulate the divine sword, repeatedly striking the massive boulders scattered around me. After a series of thunderous explosions, the colossal rocks were sliced clean through. Upon unleashing the 13th strike, my vision suddenly darkened, and I stumbled, collapsing to the ground. The spiritual energy within my body had been completely exhausted, and the divine sword dissipated into shimmering specks of light. In other words, I can only sustain this level of attack for 13 strikes. If I fail to slay my enemy within those 13 strikes, I will have no further recourse. I wonder how this ability of mine compares to other 3rd-level chi condensation cultivators. I suppose it must be roughly on par with everyone else, right? Little did I know that if other third-level chi condensation cultivators were to witness this level of offensive power, they would undoubtedly be plagued by nightmares for nights to come. Heaven's cultivation truly is a magnificent path. Ba ba ba. That was the demonic path. I consumed 2 chi-gathering pills to replenish my spiritual energy and began my journey home. Oh, without the empowerment of the divine lightning, how long will it take me to return home? In a state of pure desperation, I gritted my teeth and walked for 9 agonizing days, returning home exhausted beyond measure. Yet by the following day, I could no longer contain my impatience and sprang to my feet. I had to quickly find that child to acquire the 5 colored flowers, so that I might continue refining elixirs and cultivating. Having tasted the might of the divine sword, I must apply myself with even greater diligence. At the entrance of the alley, Han Xiao's eyes lit up upon seeing me. She clutched a cloth bag and hurried forward to greet me. Big brother Zhang, there are 230 5-colored flowers in total here. Please provide 2 immortal coins and take them all. I reached into my purse, then paused, realizing that I had inadvertently spent my wealth, leaving me with only 3 immortal coins remaining. I looked at Han Xiao before me, noticing she appeared completely different from with fine garments, a spirited demeanor, and a single immortal coin to indulge in worldly pleasures. That was a sum of money that could last a lifetime. Yet once I embarked on the path of cultivation, even with my frugal habits, it barely lasted me a year. Cultivation truly has the power to bankrupt a man. I retrieved 2 immortal coins and handed them to Han Xiao. Then, taking the final coin, I made my way toward the alchemy room. Knowing I could afford only 1 more hour of practice, I steeled my resolve to refine every single one of these 235 colored flowers. Having reached the 3rd level of chi refining, I could now channel the spirit energy to guide the alchemy process entirely through remote control. Thus an hour passed and the rich pure scent of medicinal herbs soon permeated the entire alchemy room. Time was nearly up. I opened the furnace and success was mine. This batch had produced over 65 element chi gathering pills, and of such superior quality too. Alas, if not for the fear that a tall tree catches the wind, I would truly wish to sell this entire stockpile of pills immediately. For in exchange for immortal coins, I could purchase even finer materials for my alchemy. Currently on the market, even a low-grade chi-gathering pill fetches 500 immortal coins. Over the following period, aided by the chi-gathering pills, I refined my mastery of the divine sword technique. With sword light flickering, striking true with every movement, I mastered the wood elemental veneration of all things, the earth elemental earth god shield, the fire elemental summoning of the demon dragon, and the water elemental embryonic breath technique, learning them one after another. A month later, I consumed the final chi-gathering pill and successfully achieved a breakthrough to the 4th level of chi refining. At the very moment of the breakthrough, my divine sense doubled in reach, allowing me to perceive everything within a radius of over 20 zhang. Every movement in the courtyard, every rustle of the wind, every blade of grass, even the crawling of ants, was clear and vivid. Letting out a long roar, I emerged from my deep meditation. My physical body had grown significantly stronger following the breakthrough, and it was finally time to venture out and earn some money. Yet, at that very moment the altar suddenly manifested, requesting the offering of a flying sword or some other flight-capable Dharma treasure. A flying sword? I had not yet reached the 8th level of chi refining. I was fundamentally incapable of controlling flight-type Dharma artifacts. Heavens, even if I possessed a flying sword, I could not fly it yet. And most importantly, the cheapest flying sword would cost at least 3,000 immortal coins. What on earth was I supposed to buy? For now, I have no choice but to head to the management office and see if there is any work to be found. A short while later, I arrived before the service counter of the management office. Senior brother, have you heard of any good opportunities for work lately? I am looking for something relatively effortless, yet highly rewarding. Junior brother, the kind of work you desire requires having a powerful father behind you. Commoners like us simply have no way of obtaining such positions. For ordinary residents of Dajiao, we barely hold a candle to the laborers on the mountain. Reaching the heavens in a single bound is an impossible feat. However, there is indeed one opening, though I fear you may not meet the minimum requirement of the 4th layer of chi refining. What a coincidence, senior brother. I have just reached the 4th layer. Upon hearing my words, he was deeply astonished. After all, medicinal elixirs are exorbitant in price. For the average cultivator in Dajiao, the 3rd layer of chi refining is fundamentally the limit. In fact, very few even manage to reach the 3rd layer at all. Senior brother regained his composure and spoke hurriedly. If you have truly reached the 4th layer of chi refining, you can certainly apply to Lingu Peak to oversee the spirit fields. The work there is relatively light. The compensation is generous, but the requirements are quite strict. You must be at least at the 4th layer of chi refining. If you possess wood or metal spiritual energy, it is even easier to qualify. I have also heard that the elder there is the most generous. If you can truly tend to the spirit fields well, they will even reward you with treasures. It is said that he possesses an abundance of flying swords and often grants them as rewards. Even if you do not use one yourself, selling it to the Tianbao Pavilion would net you a significant sum of money. As I listened, my heart began to race. Damn it all, isn't this exactly the source of flying swords that the Demon King requires? Then tell me, senior brother, I understand why tending to spirit fields requires wood spiritual energy, but why would they also seek to recruit cultivators with metal spiritual energy? I am not entirely sure about that, but if you are a dual cultivator of both wood and metal spiritual energy, you are certain to be selected. Furthermore, I will not hide it from you. The Elder of Lingu Peak is in truth quite temperamental. If you tend to the fields well, then naturally there is nothing to worry about. But if you fail to tend to them properly, you will frequently be reprimanded, and may even be beaten before being cast out. However, rest assured, there has never been a loss of life there. Many thanks, senior brother. I shall go there and see for myself. Lingu Peak is recruiting a manager for the spirit fields. 4th layer of chi refining or higher required. Primary duty is guarding the field. Those with metal spiritual roots are preferred. Those with wood spiritual roots may also be considered. Only one person will be recruited. The salary is 15 immortal coins per month, including room and board. I immediately stepped forward and joined the back of the queue. The cultivators ahead of me stepped forward one by one to undergo the assessment. Father, this won't do. Your spiritual energy is far too weak. Please, take your leave. After dismissing several candidates in succession, there was only one person left in front of me. It was my turn. The burly man ahead of me placed his hand upon the spirit stone. In an instant, the spirit stone erupted with a blinding red radiance. The fat man's eyes lit up, having finally found someone of decent caliber. Your spiritual energy is indeed formidable, but it is of the fire attribute. Ha 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 ha, cultivators at the 4th layer of chi condensation are already rare enough. If you insist on requiring only the metal and wood attributes, are you not simply making things difficult for everyone? I am well aware that your true goal is merely to recruit laborers for your chores. Though fire may not be equal to metal or wood, it is certainly capable of performing the tasks. The fat man was clearly hesitant. After all, he had been recruiting for quite some time without finding a suitable candidate. Perhaps I should let this one try. Who knows, he might actually succeed. I took in every flicker of expression on the fat man's face, my heart tightening instantly. Damn it, if he recruits this fellow, what am I supposed to do? Immortal Master, I possess both metal and wood attributes at the 4th layer of chi condensation. The burly man stood up abruptly, glaring at me in rage, but I paid him no heed, focusing my gaze solely on the stout Taoist. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I had to seize it at all costs. Oh, is that so? Step forward and let me see. I shall first test the density of your spiritual energy. The burly man gnashed his teeth, not daring to act recklessly before the Immortal Master, and reluctantly stepped aside, though he refused to leave. He firmly believed his own spiritual energy at the 4th layer of chi condensation was immense, far beyond what any ordinary person could compare to. Even if this brat has both metal and wood attributes. If his spiritual energy is too weak, he will never catch the eye of the Immortal Master. Just wait until you are eliminated. I extended my right hand, quickly converting the divine lightning energy within my body into the twin attributes of metal and wood, and then placed my palm upon the spirit stone. In the blink of an eye, one half of the spirit stone turned a brilliant white, while the other glowed with a pure emerald green. The two colors intertwined, emitting a radiance of perfect harmony. It truly is the dual attribute of metal and wood, and both are exceptionally pure, not to mention incredibly dense. This is truly a rare find. Very good, there is no need to look any further. You are the one, follow me. Half an hour later, the stout Taoist led me to the ridge of Lingu Peak, where tiers of stone stepped, the spirit fields were scattered and intertwined, and everywhere I looked, the spirit energy was serene and dense. Keep in mind that you are now responsible for the care of these spirit fields. These spirit rice sprouts have just been sown, and this is the most critical period. There are 30 acres in total. Let us go. I shall take you to pay your respects to the elder. I followed closely behind the rotund Taoist, continuing to ascend the mountain path. However, the very moment we stepped beyond the boundary of the great formation, mist suddenly rose and the surroundings became profoundly ethereal. Everything appeared hazy and indistinct, making it impossible to see the scenery clearly. This is the great mountain protecting array established by our predecessors. Do not attempt to traverse it alone, lest you face dire consequences. Furthermore, our gatekeeper is often slothful and frequently neglects his post. Even if he is absent, you are strictly forbidden from wandering into the wrong path. This junior will keep that in mind. As the two of us continued forward, the illusions suddenly vanished, revealing an ancient cave dwelling before our eyes. Elder Ling Mu, your disciple Fang Xiaopang has come to report. I have found the most suitable candidate to tend to the spirit fields. I invite Elder Ling Mu to inspect him. Yet another brat at the 4th level of chi refining? Can he truly shoulder such a heavy burden? Elder, for a menial laborer to reach the 4th level of chi refining is already a rarity. I searched for a very long time before finding someone who met the requirements. Forget it, let him attempt it, and see if he is capable. This is the exclusive command token of the Spirit Valley Chamber. You will occasionally need to ascend the mountain, and several tools are kept there. By holding this token, you may enter and leave the Spirit Valley Chamber at will, and it will also guide you through the illusions. But remember, outside of your designated work areas, you are strictly forbidden from wandering about. The lad who guarded the spirit fields previously was quite promising. He had already reached the 5th level of chi refining, yet he insisted on wandering off to contend with demonic beasts. In the end, he was devoured by one. It is truly a pity. There is still half a year remaining in the growth cycle. The rest of these matters are entrusted to you, and Xiaopeng will instruct you on the specific methods. If you are negligent and handle your duties with indifference, then, humph, this junior dares not slacken. Very well, withdraw. Do not disturb my solitude. Having said that, the old man turned and retreated into the depths of the cave. Afterward, I followed Fang Xiaopong back to the spirit fields. He led me to a stone slab situated amidst the terrace steps. This stone block is the key to the formation. Through this monolith, one can activate the natural magical formation concealed beneath. It is capable of continuously generating a vast abundance of spiritual energy. This energy is not particularly suitable for cultivators, yet it is exceptionally ideal for the growth of flora. The method is quite simple. You need only channel your spiritual energy into it. The most effective form is wood attribute spiritual energy. The purer and more potent it is, the better. Activating it once each morning is sufficient. Immortal Master, I understand the need for wood attribute energy here, but for what purpose is the metal attribute energy used? The work that follows requires the use of metal attribute energy once the formation is activated. Not only does it promote the growth of spirit herbs, but it also causes various weeds and wild vegetation to proliferate aggressively. Once nourished by the spiritual energy, these weeds become notoriously difficult to manage. It is best to use metal attribute energy to sever them at the root. Otherwise, if you kill them today, they will simply sprout again tomorrow. That would be a tiresome ordeal indeed. Especially the five-colored flower. This plant, laden with impure energy, is the most troublesome of all. The five-colored flower? Is that not a primary ingredient for alchemy? It appears I have truly come to the right place. I chuckled inwardly, knowing full well that at your current 4th level of chi condensation, it will be nearly impossible for you to thoroughly purge the roots of the five-colored flower in this land, overflowing with spiritual energy. That flora is on the verge of developing its own sentience. Not only are its roots buried deep, but they also sprawl and shift across the land. You will need to labor diligently each day to manage them, ensuring they do not consume an excess of spiritual energy. The second function of this metal attribute energy is for harvesting the spirit rice. Harvesting rice. Does this task truly require the use of metal attribute energy? Indeed, when the rice ripens, one must use metal attribute energy to cleanly sever the stalks. Do not underestimate this task. This is a spirit field, and the density of these rice stalks will far exceed your imagination. Come, let me take you to see your living quarters. Fang Xiaopong led me to a nearby cliffside, where a cave dwelling was located. I followed Fang Xiaopong into the depths of the mountain. Beyond my expectations, there lay a grand hall at the center. Suspended above was a fire attribute spirit stone, emitting a radiance that not only illuminated the hall, but also dispelled all dampness from within the cave. Along the side, there were 5 separate stone chambers designated for residence. Following this, Fang Xiaobong opened a large storage room nearby. These jade jars are meant for storing the spirit rice, and they also serve as a means to evaluate disciples in the future. The evaluation consists of 2 parts. First, examining the quality of the spirit rice, and second, measuring the total yield produced. You must engrave this into your mind. This spirit rice does not belong to you. You are required to submit the entire harvest to the spirit grain hall. Do not under any circumstances attempt to conceal any for personal use. And do not entertain the foolish notion that the immortals will fail to notice your transgressions. If you are caught, do not blame me for not warning you when you are brutally beaten and expelled from Spirit Grain Peak. Very well, that is all for now. Do not lose heart. For spirit rice of inferior quality, the elder will not require the full amount and will allow you to keep a portion for yourselves. It is rare for a common disciple to consume second-grade spirit rice. I have said all that needs to be said, so take care of yourself. I bowed repeatedly. I respectfully saw Fang Xiaobong off, my eyes following him until he disappeared from sight. The moment Fang Xiaobong departed, I immediately set off toward the spirit fields. My primary objective is to tend to the spirit fields with care. Only then will I have the opportunity to earn the flying sword reward promised by Elder Lingmu. Soon, I arrived at the heart of the spirit fields formation, and following the instructions Fang Xiaobong had taught me, I channeled my wood attribute spirit energy into the spirit stones. Heavens, there truly are 5 colored flowers. I suppressed my excitement, deciding it was best to deal with the weeds first. I gathered my energy and unleashed the sword technique, locking onto the roots of the weeds as I struck. However, the weeds seemed to have sensed the danger beforehand, quickly shedding their newly sprouted leaves and stems. My strike hit nothing but air. Have these weeds actually developed sentience? 10 paces away, the root of the weed was already absorbing spirit energy, and in the blink of an eye it had sprouted once more, swaying back and forth as if to provoke me. I refuse to believe that I cannot defeat a mere blade of grass. Zhang Ping'an, I swear that today you and I are irreconcilable enemies. And so, a man and a blade of grass chased one another for the duration of an incense stick. Gradually, I began to discern the movement patterns of this weed. Every time it burrowed away, it traveled exactly 10 paces, no more, no less. I once again gathered my energy and directed my flying sword to strike exactly 10 paces ahead of it. As expected, the weed collided right into it. I struck true, and it withered instantly. I heaved a long sigh of relief. Now I finally understand the words of Elder Lingmu. Being merely a boy at the 4th layer of chi refining, it turns out that weeding is truly a task that demands raw strength. After some time, my proficiency in pulling weeds became increasingly refined. Quite unintentionally, my divine sword technique also advanced by a level, evolving from a single blade into 2. Although the second sword is smaller than the first, I maneuvered the 2 silvery white miniature blades to strike in mutual coordination. Before long, the weeds in the field were almost entirely cleared, leaving behind only the spiritual rice sprouts and the 5 colored flowers blooming across the land. Naturally, I could not bear to destroy the 5-colored flowers. I took only the petals and leaves, sparing their roots, as the purity here is exceptionally high. Using these 5-colored flowers for alchemy would undoubtedly produce pills that far exceed the standards of the chi-gathering pills found on the market. However, a problem arises. I do not possess an alchemy furnace in this dwelling. Never mind that for now. I will simply stockpile the 5-colored flowers. Such matters can be addressed at a later time. Time flowed by, and in the blink of an eye, autumn arrived. The spiritual field was a vast expanse of gold. Seeing that the time for harvesting the spiritual rice was drawing near, Fang Xiaopong suddenly rushed over to deliver a message. Tomorrow, Elder Ling Mu will come to your location for an inspection. You must tidy everything up, and you must remember this above all else. Upon receiving the notice, I immediately cleared away more than half of the 5-colored flowers in the field, then moved all of the high-quality flowers to a dark corner to keep them hidden. After all, the art of appearances is of great importance. The next day, after strolling through the spiritual field, Elder Ling Mu nodded in satisfaction. You have performed well over the past few months, exceeding my expectations. This is my reward for you. Many thanks, Elder Ling Mu. Furthermore, this rice field is nearly ready for harvest. This is the most crucial phase, but I have urgent business and must depart from the sect for a while. During this period, you must handle the final harvest carefully. I will instruct Xiaopong to guide you. Once the rice harvest is complete, winter will be fast approaching. If the harvest is successful and without issues, you shall have the entire winter off to move about as you please. Understood. Once Elder Ling Mu departed on his sword, I hurried back into the cave dwelling and placed the flying sword onto the altar. This is a flying Dharma treasure. Could the great demon king have made a mistake? I then used my divine sense to perceive the information contained within the wash basin. The flying demon basin is a flight-type Dharma treasure with immense speed. Traveling 10,000 miles a day is not an issue. The demon basin will not sink in water, nor will it burn in fire. No poison can infiltrate it, not even by an inch, as its durability is extraordinary. To think it is truly a flying Dharma artifact. I can already imagine others riding their flying swords or auspicious clouds, while I, free to soar through the heavens. Yet here I was, standing atop a wash basin in the midst of them all. The mere thought of it was humiliating. I promptly cast the flying demon basin into my spatial storage, opting for out of sight, out of mind, especially since I was still far from mastering the art of flying on objects, and I had no intention of using such an embarrassing artifact now. At that moment, the Demon King's voice resonated once more. Please sacrifice a supporting tool. The first thing that came to my mind was a pill furnace, as I was currently in dire need of one for alchemy. But where on earth would I find a furnace to bring here? Wait, was every action I took being scrutinized by the Demon King? Why did the sacrifice quest seem to provide exactly what I was lacking at that precise moment? And what of that flying demon basin from earlier? Why was he so eager to bestow it upon me? I had a nagging suspicion that everything the Demon King gave me was something I would eventually find a use for. A few days passed, and the spirit rice finally ripened. I proceeded according to the method Fang Xiaopong had taught me. I gripped the stalks tightly, sensing the wood spirit chi flowing within, and then suddenly released my metal spirit chi, severing the flow of wood spirit chi within the stalks entirely. The moment the stalks were severed, the rice husks burst open, and the spirit rice grains scattered into the air. I quickly channeled my spiritual energy, capturing the floating grains, gathering them all together in mid-air, before letting them settle into the jade jars I had prepared nearby. Success. This technique feels somewhat similar to the method I use for harvesting pills, doesn't it? But in truth, this is quite exhausting labor. After all, the rice stalks have to be harvested one by one. After toiling for several days, the spirit rice was finally secured within the jade jars. Fang Xiaopong inspected them jar by jar. Ping An, this year's harvest is truly exceptional. It's several jars more than in previous years, and the quality is excellent. Did you not harbor any intention of keeping a portion for yourself? Master, Elder Lingmu has treated me with great kindness and even bestowed a flying sword upon me. I would never commit such a disgraceful act. Heh, Ping An, there is half a jar left over that isn't quite full. It's difficult to measure for sale anyway. Besides, Elder Lingmu might not even notice. You might as well keep it. Are you still unaware? This stuff is an incredibly popular commodity in Dayao. It is worth a fortune. If we calculate it at 50,000 immortal coins, how about we split it, 25,000 for each of us? Immortal Master Fang, you have lost your senses. Oh, Brother Wu, our Spirit Valley Peak specializes in cultivation. We absolutely cannot engage in such illicit activities. Furthermore, this spirit rice is contracted to be sold exclusively to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. That Spirit Treasure Pavilion possesses immense influence and reach. If other spirit rice were to suddenly appear on the market beyond their supply, do you truly think the Spirit Treasure Pavilion would not investigate it to the end? If we were to secretly sell it, would we not be walking straight into a trap? You have a point. Your judgment is far more thorough than mine. Perhaps we should do this. We can keep it for now and wait for an opportunity to smuggle it out later. If it truly proves impossible to remove, we can simply consume it ourselves. That would also be a highly beneficial outcome, would it not? I will absolutely not participate in such a matter. Immortal Master Fang, there is no need to try and persuade me further. Ping An, is it? What just transpired was merely a test to gauge your character. I never expected your resolve to be so firm. Not bad at all. I shall not hide the truth from you. This was a trial instructed by Elder Lingmu before he departed. Elder Lingmu stated that if you pass this test, you would be granted priority for employment again next year. Additionally, you may present one reasonable request. None of these old men are simple. Each and every one of them is incredibly cunning. Fortunately, I remained upright and did not succumb to greed. Otherwise, I might have been severely punished and expelled from Spirit Valley Peak. I thank you, Immortal Master Fang. I am dedicated to serving Spirit Valley Peak with my heart and soul, and I have no ulterior motives. Very good, Ping An. Have you decided what reward you would like? Immortal Master Fang, does our Spirit Valley Peak possess an alchemy chamber? An alchemy chamber naturally exists. Regardless of whether one is an outer or inner sect disciple, studying alchemy is a mandatory requirement. If you wish to practice alchemy, I can arrange for the outer sect alchemy chamber to be opened for you for a few days. You have misunderstood me, Immortal Master. How would I dare to use the chambers reserved for you? It is just that when many immortals practice alchemy, accidents such as fires and explosions are unavoidable. If there happens to be an alchemy furnace that has been damaged beyond repair, would you be willing to gift it to me? What could you Is it truly like this? I have always wished to learn the art of forging. Therefore, I wanted to find a damaged cauldron to study for a while. Oh Ping An, you were born to tend to the fields. Under no circumstances should you divide your focus to learn that useless art of artifact refinement. That path requires an immense sum of money to even begin learning. I have never once heard of a poor man attempting to learn artifact refinement. Understood, I shall certainly focus on farming. Nijung will never forget that, but the winter is long and I must find some side work to occupy my time. I have never harbored dreams of becoming a grand master of refinement. I merely wish to be able to forge some basic everyday tools. Sigh very well. Since you are so insistent, I shall take it upon myself to lead you to retrieve a discarded cauldron. Before long, Fang Xiaopeng and I crossed the guard post and reached a waste dump on the outskirts. Search for it yourself. I shall accompany you no further. Tomorrow, we must deliver the spirit rice to Dadiato. Many thanks, Immortal Master. Ignoring the foul stench emanating from within, I rushed into the waste dump, unable to restrain my eagerness. After sifting through the refuse for half a day, I managed to find a cauldron that appeared somewhat intact, though it was covered in cracks from top to bottom. Even if it is trash, one should at least feed the Demon King something of decent quality. I cradled the dilapidated cauldron I had scavenged with the utmost care, terrified that it might suddenly crumble into dust. Yet, I never could have expected that as I entered my room and closed the door with one hand, I accidentally bumped the cauldron. The cauldron shattered instantly into a pile of fragments. Surely the great Demon King will not mind, will he? Sigh, forget it. I let it be, and when I awoke from my slumber, a brand new, pristine cauldron had appeared in my room. I knew it. The Demon King would never turn his nose up at discarded junk. He desires everything he can get his hands on. I then probed the cauldron with my divine sense. The information regarding the cauldron flashed before my eyes instantly. Kanken Cauldron, a top-tier alchemy cauldron. It uses the Kanken flame to refine medicinal pills, capable of producing heavenly pills at its peak. A heavenly pill, is that not an elixir that exists only in legends? The great Demon King is truly generous. I quickly hid the Chiankun cauldron within my black cube, as this cauldron must absolutely not be seen by others easily. Furthermore, I currently lack the funds to purchase the cold bamboo vital fire, so I shall wait and see for now. Early the next morning, Fang Xiaopeng arrived, holding a paper carriage the size of a hand. I was filled with curiosity. What could this possibly be used for? Watch closely, and I shall perform a magic trick for you. A carriage made of paper, can it actually fly? Do not underestimate it. Not only can it fly, but its load capacity can reach over 1,000 caddies. Quickly bring all the harvested spirit rice up here. I hurriedly loaded the spirit rice onto the cart bin by bin. Then Fang Xiaopeng let out a loud shout, and the paper cart steadied itself as it dove toward the foot of the mountain, clinging tightly. I am about to accelerate. Brace yourself for the rising winds. This is your first time riding a paper flying vessel. You will grow accustomed to it after a few more trips. Half an hour later, the paper cart landed before the gates of the Lingbao Pavilion warehouse in Dayao Town. I was responsible for moving the spirit rice into the warehouse. Fatty Fang was responsible for negotiating the transaction with Manager Yang. Once the trade was completed, the paper cart took flight once more. Fang Xiaopeng repeated his old trick, instantly summoning a gale of wind. In the blink of an eye, the paper cart surged forward at high speed. Wait, Master Fang, aren't we supposed to be returning to Linggu Peak? This direction is incorrect. This appears to be the path leading out of the mountain range. It was so difficult to finally make a trip outside. Why are you in such a hurry to return? I am taking you to a fine location, and while we are at it, we shall acquire some high-quality goods to bring back. This paper cart is capable of transporting quite a large haul, you know. Ping An, let me tell you, this place is the renowned Li Square. In our Dayao there are far too many rules. This is forbidden, that is restricted. But in Li Square, things are not like that at all. This place is not under the jurisdiction of our Zhenwu sword sect. It is a gathering point for trade among the various major sects and rogue cultivators. There are few rules here, and one can often discover a great many treasures. Come, let me take you to broaden your horizons. Both sides of the street were lined with all manner of merchant stalls. The voices of vendors crying their wares echoed incessantly, and the items on display were of every color and variety imaginable, ranging from damaged magical artifacts and precious medicinal herbs to defective elixirs and ancient cultivation scrolls. as well as protective talismans and spirit wood brushes crafted from wolf fur. Everything one could possibly desire was present. Friend, would you like to purchase a flat peach seed? This is a genuine seed from a spirit flat peach tree, a second-grade fruit tree. Its effects are even more potent than spirit rice. A flat peach seed, could my courtyard not plant this perfectly? Old man, how do you value this seed? Go on, get out of here, do not block the path. Scram! You are far too naive, boy. This place is entirely comprised of one-time transactions, and heaven knows what kind of worthless seeds he is holding. You actually believed him? Even if it were true, do you understand what you are talking about? Cultivating Lingji mushrooms requires extremely stringent conditions. Even if I gave you the seeds, they would be useless. The immortal master is truly knowledgeable. In the future, I must learn more from you. Half of the people on this street are swindlers. You must keep your eyes sharp. The two of them continued to walk forward. Brother, do you have any need for lumber? I have the absolute finest black crow wood here. This type of wood can be used for both alchemy and setting up arrays. It is definitely the genuine article. This is truly black crow wood. Where did you obtain it? I am also extremely curious. After all, black crow wood is grown only in the Black Crow Forest. The Black Crow Forest is a treacherous region thick with miasma, and there resides a terrifying black grandmother, whom no one dares to provoke. Naturally, no one dares to go there to fell trees. As for the origin, that must remain a secret. Would you gentlemen like to take some? This type of black crow wood is not only of high quality, but also incredibly affordable. Fang Xiaopong specializes in array formations. Upon seeing such a rare material for constructing arrays, he found himself unable to walk away. How do you intend to sell it? One piece of black crow wood only costs 5 spirit coins. If you use it for alchemy, it is extremely flame resistant, and refining dozens of batches of elixirs will be absolutely no problem. There are not many cultivators in this world who specialize in arrays, so the majority of onlookers mistakenly assumed Fang Xiaopong was buying it for alchemy. Fang Xiaopong forced himself to maintain a look of disdain. Your price is even more expensive than the cold bamboo in our sect. With this amount of money, I could easily purchase cold bamboo instead. Well, that is easy to discuss. If you truly wish to purchase them, I will offer you a discount. There are a total of 24 pieces of black crow wood here. If you buy them all, I will sell them to you for 100 spirit coins. Fang Xiaopong was deeply tempted. He was constructing a summoning array specifically designed for dark creatures, and he happened to be lacking exactly this material. However, when he reached into his pocket, his expression collapsed in an instant. Ping An, I was in such a rush when I left that I forgot my coin purse. Could you perhaps lend me 20 copper coins? Do you think we are actually close enough for that? Coming to me to borrow money, have you no sense of shame? I am afraid that would not be appropriate. I have only just managed to save a few copper coins myself. If you were to forget to pay me back, I would hardly dare to demand it from you. Ping An, you are currently serving as a temporary laborer, are you not? Next spring, you still have to undergo an assessment. With me here, is your position not already secured? Furthermore, I am even planning to promote you to an official laborer. This is not a loan, it is clearly coercion. I have no choice. My future prospects still rely on Fang Xiaopong's recommendation. I took out 20 copper coins and handed them over. Fang Xiaopong took them gleefully, patted Zhang Ping'an on the shoulder, and said, "Rest assured, I will look after you from now on." He then turned around, handed the money to the stall owner, and gathered up the 24 bundles of black crow wood. "Go ahead and pick out what you want. I am taking these to the cart first." Having said that, he hurried off, lugging the black crow wood with him. At that very moment, the black cube within my consciousness suddenly stirred, and the altar within it began an automatic sacrifice. This sacrifice required a cultivation manual for the divine sense. A divine sense manual. I was completely lost. What in the world is that? I have never even heard of such a thing. While I was lost in contemplation, I suddenly heard the stall owner at the booth nearby loudly peddling his wares. "Whoever wishes to test their luck, come to me. I have rare treasures the likes of which are seldom seen in this world." My eyes lit up. Should I go take a look? What if there truly is something hidden there? The stall owner grew energized the moment he saw me, for he had been operating his stall for a month without selling us a single book. "Brother, come take a look. These are all genuine secret manuals, recording ancient divine abilities. Would you like to purchase one to cultivate? At a single glance, I can tell you are gifted with great intelligence. If you can comprehend even one of these manuals, your future will surely be that of a great figure. Let me tell you something, Savist. Our ancestors were once grave-robbing masters of vast power. No, rather, explorers of ancient ruins, who collected many such secret manuals, guaranteeing that every single volume here is authentic. Unfortunately, my own aptitude is dull, and I truly cannot comprehend its contents, which is why I have brought it here to sell." Ha 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 ha. Can this truly be a genuine secret manual? If it were a real manual, who would be peddling it on the street corner? Hey, brother, you must be careful. Do not tear it to pieces while flipping through it. These ancient manuals have been around for a long time and are not exactly durable. A manual that can be flipped through so casually surely cannot be the genuine article. The ink in this manual is barely visible. What use could something like this possibly have? No, that is not right. As long as it is a secret manual, that is enough, regardless of whether it is legible or not. The demon lord does not seem to be paying much attention. I cast my gaze across the books on the stall once more. On one of the volumes, I caught a glimpse of a single character, Essence. Could this be a spiritual consciousness cultivation technique? I flipped to that page only to find it torn and worn beyond recognition. Flipping to the final page, I could only discern 7 characters, 4 of which had faded entirely and were impossible to identify. So it turns out that very few characters in this book are actually legible. Regardless, I shall choose this one. Shopkeeper, how much do you want for this book? Oh, you certainly know how to pick them. This secret manual was unearthed from the tomb of an ancient deity. It surely contains profound and marvelous mystical arts within its pages. It is a pity that for so many years this hidden gem has been covered in dust, with no one able to recognize its value. How about this? 100 immortal coins. 100 immortal coins. Are you robbing me? Hey brother, don't be in such a hurry to leave. Can't I offer you a discount? How about 20 immortal coins? 1 immortal coin, just 1 single immortal coin? I am on the verge of starvation. Could you do me a kindness and give me 1 immortal coin so I can buy a hot bowl of egg noodles? It is worth 1 immortal coin at most. Will you sell it or not? Although I cannot be certain if this is indeed a spiritual consciousness cultivation technique, it is cheap enough that it is worth the gamble. In any case, if the sacrifice fails, the worst that can happen is a severe reprimand from the demon lord. Just then Fang Xiaopong drove his paper carriage past. I leapt onto it in a single bound. Fang Xiaopong steered the paper carriage directly toward Linggu Peak. As the sky grew dark, Fang Xiaopong flew the carriage all the way to the entrance of my cave dwelling. Hang on, there is too much of this black crow wood. I will take 2 pieces for my experiments. That will be enough. Your cave is spacious, so I will leave the rest here for now. Afterward, I helped Fang Xiaopong store the remainder of the black crow wood inside the cavern. After seeing Fang Xiaopong off, I immediately returned to my room and bolted the door shut. Then, with the utmost caution, he retrieved the tattered book. Ha ha ha, heavens above, this book is actually a divine sense cultivation manual. I have truly struck gold this time, though you did present me with a pile of scrap. Why are there only 7 words remaining? Could you have been any more perfunctory than this? Has the Great Demon King truly been incensed this time? Great Demon King, please, just make do with this for now. When the next opportunity arises, I will procure better treasures for you. You must endure for the time being, I thought, unable to wait any longer as I flipped to the first page, the table of contents for the Divine Sense Mystery. 8 forms of the void, chi condensation, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, spirit severing, void refinement, Tao integration, and saint ascension correspond to the 8 chapters of cultivation. The Great Demon King is truly formidable. A single book can actually contain the entirety of the cultivation path. Without realizing it, 3 days had passed in the blink of an eye. Just as I was engrossed in my study, a hurried knocking echoed from outside the cave. My heart tightened as I quickly concealed all my treasures within the black cube. Only then did I move to open the tightly locked stone doors of the cave. A tall, thin Taoist stood before the entrance, his face etched with impatience. Are you Zhang Pinggan? Why are you so sluggish just opening a door? My apologies, Immortal Master. I had just fallen asleep and only now heard the sound. Sleeping in broad daylight. It is obvious you are not a diligent sort. You have been dismissed. This is 6 months of your wages. Now get out of the cave immediately. And what about Immortal Master Fang Xiaopong? You still remember Fang Xiaopong? It is a pity he can no longer protect you. He has just caused a great disaster, and this place is now under my jurisdiction. I see you are thoroughly incompetent. Get out at once. Immortal Master, I still have some personal belongings in the cave. I require some time to pack them. Very well, I will grant you one day. By tomorrow morning, do not let me see you still lurking in this cave. Is that clear? After delivering his rebuke, the Taoist turned and flew away on his sword. I stood rooted to the spot for a long while, my heart good heavens, I have been inexplicably cast out of my position. To whom can I even turn to plead my case? Just then, a figure suddenly appeared before me. Greetings, I have a letter for you. I noticed the Taoist master earlier and dared not approach, so please, take this. I took the envelope in surprise, only to discover it had been written by Fang Xiaopong. It is over for me. Peace be with you. I attempted to cultivate using black crow wood to refine my array, but instead, I accidentally summoned a demon, which razed the entire residence and left the mountain in total chaos. Now the discipline hall has thrown me into solitary confinement. Senior brother Huo Guang has taken over my duties. That man is arrogant and deeply selfish, so he will certainly not tolerate you. Do not be anxious. Once I emerge from seclusion, we shall discuss our long-term prospects. Only a few days ago, he swore with ironclad resolve that he would protect me. Yet he immediately caused such a catastrophe that he ended up locked away. I truly have no words for this scoundrel. He had to persist in researching the black immortal arts. Now look at this. Everything has completely collapsed. I continued reading the letter, finding a final note at the very end. Please, secretly dispose of those black crow woods for me. I suspect those logs are tainted. Whatever you do, do not let anyone else discover them. I am counting on you. That accursed fatty still owes me 20 coins that he has yet to repay. And now he expects me to labor on his behalf. Well, forget it. These black crow woods now belong to me. I shall consider them interest. Once he is released, I will certainly hold him accountable for the principal. Let us depart. Since this place no longer has a place for me, I shall return home to cultivate. Returning to my quarters, I began to attempt the practice of spirit refining. The first step of spirit refining is to seal the 6 senses. To see without looking is truly a strange concept. To not use one's eyes, yet to find something called the vision. What kind of principle is this? Everything remains unseen. The darkness before my eyes is merely what my sight perceives. Perhaps not looking simply means to refrain from focusing on anything at all. Could these words mean to withdraw the mind's focus from observing objects? I sat upright, ensuring I looked upon nothing. Gradually, the world vanished and the darkness dissolved. Suddenly, a sense of crisis washed over me, as if I were plummeting into a bottomless abyss. I felt like a fragile blade of grass with nowhere to take refuge, drifting helplessly amidst an ocean of raging storms and crashing waves. I snapped awake, instantly realizing this was a trial of the divine sense. I was being forced to master my own fear. Once again, I closed my eyes and entered deep meditation. As time slowly slipped away, a brilliant white light suddenly flashed before my eyes, and my suppressed divine sense erupted outward. A success. It was a success. Indeed, I had transcended the fear, and my divine sense had grown significantly stronger. I remained cross-legged, beginning to contemplate the second principle. That which is heard but perceived not is called ji. This follows the same logic as looking without seeing. The previous cultivation focused on light, while this one focuses on sound. I closed my eyes, listening neither to the sounds nor the silence, pulling the entirety of my auditory consciousness deep within my divine sense. A moment later, the sensation of terror returned, as if a 10,000-foot abyss lay beneath my feet, and I was falling at a dizzying speed. That abyss had no bottom. The suffocating sensation struck me head-on, nearly forcing me to abandon my cultivation. I gritted my teeth, struggling with all my might to persevere. I do not know how much time had passed, but with a thunderous roar, a blinding white light flashed before my eyes, causing my divine sense to surge forth once more. Another success. Let us continue. This is the final stage. Once this barrier is crossed, the first level of spirit tempering will be complete. That which is grasped but obtained not is called way. This is the cultivation of the sense of touch. A sharp bone-piercing agony struck me first, which in the blink of an eye transformed into an unbearable soul-deep itching. And finally, a numbness that spread across my entire body, unsettling the mind and leaving one in a state of utter distress. I bit down hard, clinging to my resolve. As time passed, my senses of sight, hearing and touch gradually vanished. Finally, these three perceptions, see and way, miraculously fused into one. Under the perception of my divine sense, the world instantly became 10,000 times clearer. Ha ha ha, when one does not see, hear, or grasp, the divine sense coalesces into a singular entity, capable of transforming into a mystical perception that is omnipotent. So this is the true nature of divine sense. Unable to wait, I rushed to sink back into that state of cultivation, and the world grew incredibly vivid once more. I meticulously sensed the world outside, and suddenly I discovered a hidden, mysterious door in the backyard. Wait, why is there a door here? I strode toward the backyard, paced 10 zhang across the grass, extended my hands to unleash my spiritual power, and pulled with all my might. I hauled up a square lid hidden within the weeds, revealing a staircase that descended into the deep, dark abyss. What could this mean? Could this truly be the work of Lord Qingfeng? I followed the stone steps as I descended. After walking roughly 10 zhang, a massive stone door emerged before me. The character's refuge zone were inscribed upon the stone. These were indeed the strokes of Lord Qingfeng, but for what purpose would he construct an underground refuge? Was it to escape a catastrophe? Was it not said that the legendary storm would not descend for another 3,000 years? I pushed open the heavy stone door to find a spacious hall, within which lay several smaller stone chambers. My eyes brightened. 3 bedrooms. With a living room as well, this was an ideal location for cultivation. It would also serve perfectly to conceal the secrets of my demonic path. I opened the first stone chamber to find a storage room, filled with ceramic pots of rice, jars of water, and various miscellaneous supplies. Tucked away in the far corner was a heavily reinforced stone room. It would not budge, and its purpose remained a mystery. The final stone chamber contained a stone bed and a few simple pieces of furniture. Once I had secured my living quarters, I resumed my practice of refining the divine sense. In the blink of an eye, winter arrived. My cultivation of the divine sense progressed with remarkable smoothness. I achieved a breakthrough, ascending directly to the 4th level. However, I could advance no further than this. The level of my divine sense cultivation cannot surpass the level of my chi refinement. It seems it would be prudent to raise my realm to the 5th level of chi refinement first. In Dai Yao, a cultivator at the 5th level of chi refinement is a rare find. With such power, securing a respectable position will be far easier. To achieve this breakthrough, I must refine the chi gathering pill. I withdrew a piece of black raven wood from my spatial storage ring. Just as I prepared to split it into smaller pieces to serve as fuel for the alchemy furnace, the sensation radiating from my fingertips caused my expression to shift instantly. This is wrong. This black raven wood is tainted. How could I sense such an aura of malevolent divine intent within it? It is no wonder Fang Xiaopeng failed in his formation refining. It was surely caused by the presence of this evil energy. I must be careful not. I channeled the aura of the divine thunder out of my body, directly infiltrating the black crow wood. The malevolent spiritual consciousness encountered the divine thunder's aura and was instantly purged, leaving not a single trace behind. Only then did I chop these logs into smaller blocks to keep in reserve, then proceeded to sort and neatly stack the 5 colored petals. Yet, I did not intend to refine the medicinal pills myself. Instead, I utilized the clone technique I learned while training my spirit, summoning a demon dragon to assist me in the refinement. Under the control of my spiritual consciousness, the demon dragon used its claws to toss the black crow wood inside, then exhaled a flame to ignite and burn the timber. An hour later, the scent of medicine wafted from the pill furnace, and the fragrance of the elixirs filled the entire room as I opened the lid. What is this? How could the spiritual energy contained within be this incredibly dense? It far surpasses the premium qi-gathering pills from the Tianbao Pavilion. This is not right. These scraps of 5-colored flowers of mine inherently did not possess this much spiritual energy. It is impossible for them to have generated such energy out of nowhere. I seemed to recall something, and quickly looked toward the Qiangkun furnace. The ancient patterns upon the walls of the furnace were glowing brilliantly. The spiritual energy inside the furnace was immensely potent. The Demon King is truly formidable. This Cancun furnace is indeed a priceless treasure. It comes with an inherent ability to refine pills and concentrate spiritual energy. It can even significantly enhance the quality of the medicinal pills across the board. Do I still have anything to fear regarding the perfection of my qi refinement? In the days that followed, I cultivated while refining pills. I let out a long, resonant cry, successfully breaking through to the 5th level of qi refinement, the Tongyu realm. I immediately began testing the capabilities of the Tongyu realm, condensing my entire spiritual consciousness into a single thread and firing it fiercely into the distance. In an instant, my spiritual consciousness traveled 10 miles, coincidentally striking the demon claw. Like a dream-seeking insect, my consciousness surged straight into the heart of the demon claw. Within that demonic claw, a demonic entity struggled, preparing to shatter the seal established by the immortals. That demonic entity sensed my divine consciousness and transmitted a bizarre signal, effectively pleading for help. Could it be that it perceives me as one of its own? My heart tightened, and I hurriedly retracted my divine consciousness. Are you joking? To save you would be to invite endless trouble upon myself. Having been in seclusion for far too long, it is time to step out and breathe some fresh air. I slowly walked into the bustling, noisy market. Halfway there, I caught sight of a roadside noodle stall and stepped inside. Attendant, 1 bowl of noodles. Before long, a steaming, piping hot bowl of noodles was served. I began to eat ravenously. While devouring the meal, I suddenly overheard those at the next table discussing the selection of outer sect disciples. It is the outer sect disciple selection again, held only once every 10 years. You must cherish this opportunity. Rest assured, Father, I have reached the 5th level of qi refining. I meet the standard to register, and for this selection, I will surely give it my all. The selection of outer sect disciples? Registration once every 10 years. This is truly like being handed a pillow just as I felt sleepy. Ha ha ha.